Hello everybody, welcome to Cave Sessions episode 2. I am your host Erin Warwick, and with me as per last week, I wouldn't say as usual because I've done one episode so far, but is my lovely co-host and wife, Emma. G'day Emma.
Can't get rid of me.
I'm not trying to get rid of you, thankfully. I'm stuck with you forever. I do have a question to ask you, however, because something that a lot of people have asked me from last week's episode is, are you going to be married this week?
What do you mean?
Where's your rings, mate?
Oh, yeah, I do have them all.
Good, because remember, if you remember rightly last week, I was the only one married last week.
I mean, to be fair, I take them off because if I do the dishes and water gets under them, I get really bad dermatitis. So I take them off and then I just get to put them back on. Then I'm not married.
Yeah, so you would forget about...
I am married today, thank you. Yes, I have them both on. Thank you.
Oh, well, that's good to know. So, all right, we'll move past it now that we're both married again, and
Thanks.
not just me. Welcome back to the Cave Sessions, Player Issue Podcast Cave Sessions, mind you. I forgot to mention that the first time, but hopefully you enjoyed the intro video. That took me quite a while to do. Perfectly interesting. To be perfectly honest, I didn't actually make the intro video. I outsourced it, but I had to rechange the music and fix all the audio.
Yeah, put terrible music on it.
Yeah, the music on there was awful, so it didn't match our tone at all. So fix that up, and I think it turned out pretty good. What do you reckon, Em?
Yeah, I like it. I like the way you had to get David Mundy's wedding photo. Well, our wedding photo with David Mundy in there as well. Couldn't just be me and you, didn't it? Had to be David Mundy.
Well, my thought process was it had to be
Football
me and you, obviously, because it's me and you doing the podcast and the show, but it had to have a footy player in it as well. And how many other players do we have? Me and you and a footy player in one photo. Okay.
Fair enough. Good point. Good point.
All right, I'm just going to mark that down for one for me.
One for you.
Oh, you missed that.
Good. It's a child show. You don't need to see what I just did.
All right. So I thoroughly enjoyed last week's show. We had a good time making it. I think we went about an hour and 20 minutes longer than we expected.
Yeah, we said it was only going to be quick. 20 minutes tops.
No, I think I wanted the editing process to be as absolute minimal as possible because I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah, but now you're a pro and you know what you're doing. So it's down pat.
Pro, she reckons. Yeah, I don't know about that.
I wouldn't know what I was
I've
doing.
sort of got the idea of how to do it because we've kind of just gone and made a little video.
Before we even get this video, it'll surface eventually. But if anyone stops listening to the Player Issue podcast and stops talking to Erin because of this video, I completely understand. This video, I was forced to do it. I enjoyed doing it.
That's a complete
lie. I look like a right knob. You can laugh at me, but just, yeah, I'm sorry in advance. I'm so sorry.
Anyway, before we lose people, because I got no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah.
We've gone and made a little bit of a piss take video. Let's just put it that way.
So sorry.
Because there was a question asked, which we'll get to a bit later on. We'll do a little bit of rundown shortly of what we're going to be talking about. But there was a question asked that as soon as this question was asked, my little light above my head just bing. And I thought this was perfect. I finally got the opportunity, or we got the opportunity to make it. And I like how she says forced to do it because she's the one that said she's always wanted to recreate it.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. I enjoyed making it. Yeah. I don't know what else to say. I'm just sorry. It's just, yeah. It
was great fun.
It's great fun. It's funny. And yes, you can laugh at it, but if you think I'm an absolute idiot after this, then...
Look, we answered the question. The question was asked. We answered it in our way. And I think that's what matters. But we'll explain it a little bit more later on. But once we get to the viewer questions, you'll know what we're talking about, hopefully. but we'll explain why the video came along and why why it happened.
Let's just move
And
on.
hopefully we don't lose some viewers because of it. But
Let's
so I've
just move
edited it
on.
into the show today. So like I said, my editing skills hopefully are getting slightly better. Every week we do this, they are getting very, very slightly better. I'm coming up with an idea here and there what we can do, and I've managed to just slide it on into this show today. So I thoroughly look forward to that.
Let's just move on and get to it when we get to it. I'm not ready for it yet.
All right, so what we're going to do first up, we're just going to give you a little bit of rundown of what we're going to talk about today on the second episode. Um, First of all, we're going to talk about what is the Player Issue podcast. So we did the episode last week, and what I forgot to do was explain what it is that we actually do here, or why we're talking gibberish. Because not everybody listens to the Player Issue podcast audio show. That's fair enough. And there might be some stragglers who just come in and watch the video because maybe it looks pretty or some of the lighting looks nice. I know I've looked at some videos just because the lighting looks pretty good. So for those of you who have done that, we're going to explain to you what we are all about and why this show came about. And then we're going to just talk about any feedback or any thoughts we had on the last episode. We're going to give an update on the end of season sales and the auctions, and I'll show you some of the jumpers that I've picked up in the last few weeks, jumpers or even some other little things as well. And then we're going to do the viewer questions, including our fantastic video, which I thoroughly look forward to showing you all. And then we're going to have a little bit of a special segment. So this segment was actually filmed before we ever filmed anything for the show, and it was kind of a bit of a tester on the equipment. So we kind of used it to our advantage to work out how all this was going to work. So that's what you're going to see. Now you're going to see a little interview with Brett Attrill. So he's come around and he's brought a bunch of jumpers with him, and he's showed them off and a little bit of a talk about the jumpers before he took off to Japan. So he's actually sent us some photos as well of his trip so far in Japan. So we're going to put those in as well post-production because I'm not smart enough to know how to do it as we go. But yeah, that's coming up. And then we're going to do what's in the cave, just like we did last week. We're going to show off one of the jumpers in the cave after we pick out a number from the wheel. And we'll speed it up again like we did last time. Unless we have like a number 5 come out like we almost did.
Yeah.
And then we'll finish it off with closing the episode, of course. So that's it. So let's get into it, Emma. Are you excited?
Yeah, sure.
Completely tuned out while I was going through
I
it.
was tuned out and I got told I'm getting some sausage rolls made for me, so
Oh, for dinner tonight?
no, in like 3 weeks' time.
Oh.
You have to wait.
All right, fair enough. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit to you. Anyway, let's try that again, shall we? We'll talk a little bit about why the podcast became a thing. So, where do we start? 2019, I believe we started.
No.
No?
No. Are you talking about the podcast? You're talking about when you've got your first jersey.
True,
You
okay.
started it all. First jersey was 2014.
Yeah, okay. So thank you for that. So 2019 is when the show started, but we go right back to when we first got our first jumper and we got this little hobby, addiction, I guess. It's the only way to put it. 2014, as Em said, was the first time we ever got a jumper in the collection. And I think it was a Fremantle Dockers auction, which came up, and always wanted to get a piece of them jumpers that the players wore or anything really. And I thought, gee, I wonder if they ever do something like that. And I think they must have put up a Facebook post, the Fremantle Dockers did, and just said, here's the end of season auction. It was an end of season auction. So they had all of their home jumpers up from memory. That's all they had at the time. I can't remember, but just remember David Mundy always being one of my favorite players. And I saw his jumper at $80. And I thought, okay, well, surely they don't go this cheap. There was obviously Pavs and a couple of other players there as well, which were going a bit higher. When I say a bit, it's probably like $150 as the maximum price in those days. Crazy how far we've come in 8 years. So I thought, yeah, I'd love to get myself a David Mundy just because he's one of my favorite players. So I did. I put on a bid of $80 and no one else bid on it. And that was my first jumper. Came in and it was absolutely worn to absolute heaven, high heaven, destroyed, complete. Just you could tell it was worn a lot anyway throughout the year. Still have that jumper today, and it will probably never ever go anywhere. So that's what got me kicked off, and continued to collect 2014 all the way up to now. And we got around 2019 when David Mundy, let's bring him back again. He won, or he was about to play his 300th game, and the Freo Dockers said we need to do something special for his 300th game, and they were doing a little promotion to give out the game ball from that day, and they said, "Do your best Mundy 300 hashtag," and put up a post, and the best one will get the win, get the ball. So we turned our little, what was it, spare room.
Yeah, you took a photo of them all hanging up. We hung all the jerseys up. You had the cardboard cut out. Basically anything Monday related you had, we put in that room, and we took it all in one big photo.
Including one of the little figurines you got
And then,
next to
in
you.
the cardboard cutout, he's holding a card because it was for a bank. So we put the hashtag Monday 300 over that, so it looks like he was holding out the Monday 300. Yeah.
Yeah, so took a photo of that, and people grasped onto that. I think I put it on Twitter,
Put it
actually,
on Twitter, yeah.
and I don't use Twitter.
No, Twitter and Instagram. I think it was Twitter or Instagram. I can't remember I think it was Instagram.
Well, I think I put it on both, but Freo Dockers wanted you to tag them on, I think it was Instagram, potentially both. But I started getting notified of, well, getting recognition all over Twitter. Didn't get anything on Instagram, but all over Twitter, I started getting these messages from these random people. I had no idea who they were, but looking into their profiles and noticed that they were all radio presenters or
News
news
reporters.
reporters and things like that, journalists, things. I thought, okay, this is weird. And that's where it began. So the first one was the channel, no, sorry, it's the West Australian newspaper. And so they wrote an article, and then I had Channel 7 call me and ask to come and do a interview. And Channel 9 wanted to do a piece as well, but they ended up just using
The pictures
stock
you had.
footage and the
Yeah.
pictures. Whereas Channel 7 came out and did a full interview, embarrassing interview.
Mm-hmm.
I made sure to ask the guy when he came, do I need to wear shoes? Because I haven't got any on. I don't wear shoes when I'm home. And, oh, no, it's all good, mate, because we'll only film from waist
From
up.
your waist up.
Yeah, so
It was full length.
full length, absolutely
And the
screwed
first
me.
thing you got that day when that aired was everyone messaging you being like, "No shoes." You got screwed.
Yeah, I did. I got absolutely screwed. So I look like an idiot. Wearing a David Mundy 300 shirt as well. I look like a right idiot. But anyway, what I was so surprised about was how little anyone outside of our little hobby, collecting hobby of collecting AFL football jumpers, match worn and player issue for those playing at home, not just retail. So what we're talking about here is ones that were made for the players to wear on the field. So specifically made size-wise, even worn on the field, rather than just your retail stock stuff that you can get from everywhere. Mass-produced stuff. So we're not looking for that. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about stuff that the players wear on the field or is made specifically for them to wear and potentially just haven't worn it, but it's still made for them. So it's still a piece of history. So yeah, that's what the Players Podcast is. And we went from all those radio interviews and newspaper articles and all that to think, well, everyone seems to be interested in this, and I couldn't believe that people just didn't realize that it was even a thing, collecting football jumpers.
Yeah, well, because you copped a lot of backlash, people calling you a stalker, calling you a loser. Like you got called, you had like X amount of people being like, "Wow, this is really cool," to X amount of people being like, "What a tosser, what a stalker." That's like you got called heaps of things, and it was just no one realized you could actually collect stuff like that. They thought because you had all this David Mundy stuff that you were this like obsessed person with
Mm,
him. Like they thought like you were like chasing him around the street, getting signatures from him. But not only did they not realize we are friends with him, but you can buy these things.
mm. Yeah, I mean, it's weird that people think you're a stalker just because you have somebody's jumper. I think I only had 30 of his at the time as well, and I
Mm.
think I had probably 200 jumpers in total in the collection. So how that makes me a stalker, whatever. But people on social media, that's just what they do. They have to drag people down somehow to make themselves feel better or give themselves a laugh. I
Do
don't
you know
know.
what? Don't be a dick.
I think we actually brought that up in the last episode, did we
Mm.
not? But
It's
it's
going to be our saying for the whole show. Don't be a dick.
just so anyway. So I was so stoked that I got all that recognition, I guess, and people started to take note of jumper collecting being a thing and being a hobby. That I realized that outside of the Facebook social media pages, there really wasn't any chatter about collecting footy jumpers.
I
So
think actually thinking back, what sort of got you to go, oh, we should do this was from that you got message central from other people being like, what's the difference between this and this? What's this year? What's this year? How do I tell this year from this year? How do I know that this is match worn? How do I know that this is, if it doesn't have a C, like you were just getting bombarded with questions. And then you were like, well, why don't we
yeah,
do something about that?
yeah.
Because people want the information but didn't know where to go for the information.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I've always got messages from people from the hobby wanting to know questions or answers to certain jumpers or whatever, as you said. But at that point I started to realize that there was a lot of people out there who wanted just answers that hadn't been on these pages before. And I thought, okay, I'm getting a heap of messages. So how am I going to just answer all these questions without having to constantly answer all my messages? 30, 40, 50
It was a
messages a
lot.
day. It was a little bit crazy, but how can I answer these questions in a fun way and something that we enjoy doing with it, together would be great. Um, and yeah, it became a podcast. It was as simple as that. I listened to a lot of wrestling podcasts to and from work. I used to drive, 2 hours to and from work every day. So it got too much to listen to music constantly, the same old thing over and over again. So wrestling podcast became my thing that I do every single day, and thoroughly enjoyed it. So I thought, gee, could we do this ourselves? Is there a way that we can make one ourselves? That I looked through it, and how easy was it to do? And seemed pretty easy. Just need the equipment and a very little know-how, which I had. Very little know-how on how this sort of stuff worked, but put it all together and 3 years later, here we are. Um, I think we've got 32 episodes in the audio podcast out there now, which I will link below for you if you want to go and listen to the audio show. Please do. Make sure you like. I think there's a subscribe as well, as they say, like and subscribe. Um, but yeah, so jump over. Make sure you listen to the Player Issue Podcast audio podcast on all your favorite platforms, of course, on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and all the likes. But here we are now because we just enjoy doing video and we get to make some really fun, entertaining videos like the one coming up later.
God, I'm so embarrassed.
But anyway, we have so much fun doing this. So now we are here doing a video podcast. Hopefully that explains it enough for you that you seem to know what's going on a little bit now. So AFL match worn player issue jumpers or Guernseys or jerseys, whatever you want to call it, that's up to you. But we thoroughly enjoy collecting them. So we would love to show you our collection as well. And the only way to do that is through video. So we'll get to show you a little bit more as we go along as well. Emma, do you have any feedback or thoughts on the last episode before we go too far?
No,
Nothing.
no,
What do you mean?
not really.
I know you do because
Just
we were out here filming last night for quite a while, about an hour or so.
the camera died.
Yeah, the camera died. Wasn't fun.
I kept yawning.
Yeah,
It was midnight.
yeah. By the time we got out here, it was about 11:30, and then tried to get the camera working again. Shit doesn't go right for us most of the time, but came out here and we recorded for 20 odd minutes. Talked a little bit. We actually talked a bit about what we're talking about now, but
Yeah,
we're back again.
we gave up.
But so we had a little bit of feedback, and you were chatting a fair bit about a little video that I did a little bit of a snippet of.
You kept you kept posting the rage I had. My little rant about the gaff situation being booed. Stop doing that because you're poking the bear. You're trying to get people. I wish I never said it.
No, well, that's like I don't know. You don't know who Eric Bischoff is, but I think you do.
Yes, I do.
So Eric Bischoff has a little saying, and he's always had ever since he was the I'm not sure what his exact role was in WCW, but he basically ran WCW back in the day. So World Championship Wrestling. Um, they basically ran him back in the day, and his little saying was, "Controversy creates cash." Now, you could say your little comment was controversial. I don't think it really was, to be
I
honest.
think the worst thing for me is saying it is being a Freo supporter and saying it. Most people, Freo supporters, will probably be like, no, we'll keep doing it. And as a Freo supporter, you should do it too. I think it's rude.
What's that? Booing?
Booing gaff, yeah. It's like,
No,
what, 4 years ago?
2018 it
Yeah.
was. So yeah, I don't. I personally, I thought it was great what you said. I thought it was hilarious, but it was made perfect sense. You hear people at the footy all the time when people are booing gaff, like, just stop. Enough's enough. It's been a long time now. Who
Yeah,
cares?
I just think it's a bit unnecessary. You kept posting it, poke people, give feedback, but no one said anything. So I'm either taking it as everyone's like, yeah, good point, or everyone's just like, this bitch.
Now, well, yeah, no one said anything. So either they're not watching the
I'm off the
show
hook.
or you're off the hook.
I'm off the hook.
A few of the things I noticed when I was editing the show or when I watched it back was your camera wasn't quite clearer
Yeah, it was
enough. Like, it
crazy.
wasn't great. So we just changed a few little settings and made sure it looks nice and pretty now, which I believe it does. CM in nice high definition now. This looks gorgeous. I believe my skills have gotten better with editing on the video side of it, because obviously when we recorded the show, I hadn't edited anything before, using DaVinci Resolve for those playing at home. Um, so I had no idea how it was going to go. I think I did okay. I know there was quite a few bits where we didn't want to edit at all, so we wanted to just film the whole show and not edit anything.
That was the
It
idea.
didn't work out.
We had the dog that was bloody wanted in, then she wanted out, then she wanted in again, then she barked, and
So there was a few times where you can clearly notice on the editing, because I didn't really know how to edit it cleanly, where you'll see that we just skip from one part to another. So, yeah, all right. So I've still got some work to do with the editing, and I guess I'll work out how to transition things over. But ideally, we won't have to edit anything at all in future, and you won't notice any of those awkward cuts.
we're getting there.
We are getting there. So
It's only episode 2.
that's right, episode 2. So we also got asked a few times about merchandise for the show. One, for instance, being your hat that
Yeah,
you're wearing.
everyone wants my hat.
So I had a lot of questions of people saying, "Oh, where do we get these hats from?" Just wait. I promise we will have them soon. I'm working on a supplier. I've been messaging quite a few people. Mind you, we just looked at, and again, you might have heard that one. We just looked across our shoulder because Milo's outside barking. But one thing I did notice with the editing process was I thought I'd be hilarious and show you throwing my voice when we were talking about the lady in the locker room.
Mm.
I
You can't
thought
hear it.
I thought I could turn around and just yell off camera and you'd hear it in the background, but you can't. These microphones are so good.
Yeah.
You have to be right up close to be able to hear it properly, because they cut out all the noise from everywhere else. So that's another little thing we learned. But anyway, merchandise is coming. Please be on the lookout for it. We might do some pre-orders or something like that, because
We've
we
just
need
got to
to.
find somewhere to do them, because where we got these done just don't seem to reply to us. So
Yeah, well, we had those ones done in Gold Coast,
Gold
and
Coast,
I
yeah.
figured that would be quite easy to get them just to do it and send it out, but it
Yep.
hasn't been that easy, unfortunately. So we're working on a supplier. Once we have one, we'll do a pre-order probably, so we can pay for them, depending on how much they cost. But that's currently the issue is the cost. We
Mm.
just don't know how much it's going to be at this point. But the idea is keep it down as low as possible, so you can buy and support the show without having to spend too much money. Is the idea.
Mm.
Um, Also, there was a request from Andy Munro for the show to be turned into audio.
Audio, yep.
So it was something I haven't thought about all that much, was turning this whole show into a part of the audio podcast, purely because there's a lot of video stuff that goes into this, and
Mm.
audio just doesn't really make much sense if it's a full video podcast. But I did it just for this first episode, and I think it seemed to actually work pretty well.
Mm.
And the fact that I made sure to make note of it, that you need to watch the video episode so it makes sense.
Mm.
Hopefully that obviously brings people from the audio podcast over to video. We'll have to wait and see. But let us know if that was something you enjoyed, was the audio part of the video podcast or just the audio version of it. And
Not everyone has the time to watch a video, but if you don't watch it, some things might not make sense.
that's right.
Like this stupid video that you're going to see soon. That won't make sense at all. But
No, we'll definitely have to explain that. And that's another thing is we won't be able to put that portion of the video into the audio version of it because, it will make absolutely no sense at all.
yeah.
But we'll figure it out. But if that's something you want us to keep doing, is turning these video podcasts rather into an audio version, we'll keep doing that. We will have guests on in the future as well. We've got a couple of guests lined up. We'll definitely turn those videos into audio podcasts. But of course, the idea would be to watch the video version, ideally. So, what we're going to talk about now. Actually, I need to read out a. We had a review on the podcast recently. Yeah. I don't know if you saw it or not.
No, I didn't.
So we had a little review. I want to just quickly read it out because I feel like it deserves to be read out. I guess anytime, if anyone does a review, it's probably a good idea if we do read it out because you take the time to post a review and we're going to read it out on the show for you. So this one is from a very good man. I wouldn't say a friend of the show, but he is actually a friend of the show.
It wasn't it wasn't just a star review sort of thing. You're talking about he commented on the thing.
No, he actually wrote a star review.
Oh.
So he gave us a 5-star review.
Okay.
And he wrote, absolutely love this. That wasn't English. Absolutely love this. I'm quite a fan. Love our hobby in Guernsey collection. He does say collection. It wasn't just me. Love our hobby in Guernsey collecting. And Erin is quite the ambassador.
God, you're on
butchering
fire.
this.
You're on fire. Do you want me to read it out?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, okay.
The homeschooled lady is going to
shut
read
up.
out.
Okay, I'll start again. Absolutely love this. I'm quite a fan. Love our hobby in Guernsey collection. And Erin is quite the ambassador of what and why we do it. I love the banter, interaction, and insight into what we do. Keep up the great work, guys. Looking forward to the cave sessions. Tiger Matt, Binyup, Victoria. Binyup.
All right,
Bunyip.
so I mean that was better than me.
Bunyip, sorry.
Bunyip, Victoria.
It's only one thing I got wrong. You got everything wrong.
Yeah, I butchered that. So the whole point of us reading that out was so you could have your review read out on the show, and I absolutely butchered that. But luckily, Em was
I only got one word
much
wrong.
more clear and concise
I
than
said
I was.
Binyup. But it's Bunyip.
Bunyip.
Anyway,
so we'll do a little update on the end of season sales. So we had a few end last week. We had the Carlton auction end last weekend. It was their biggest ever. Yes, I said that right. Don't look at me like that. It was their biggest ever auction, and they had a bunch of stuff from 2021 and 2022, mostly all player issue stuff, but I think they had a lot of match worn stuff as well. And it all started at $300, I believe, for all the jumpers. They started at $300 was the first bid, the opening bid, starting bid. And I managed to pick up Jesse Motlop's. No, I didn't. Sorry, that's a lie. I got offered Jesse Motlop's. I picked up Matthew Owies. Completely forgot who it was then. Matthew Owies' respects jumper. So the home jumper with the orange cuffs and collar. So I look forward to that. It's super cool. I believe that's a domestic violence jumper. So raising a bit of awareness about domestic violence. So I look forward to picking that one up. Gold Coast Suns also had their annual locker room sale, which they do all online. Speaking of controversy, creates cash. There's a lot of controversy about their auction or their locker room sale in the fact that they sold them all the same way they did every year, where they put up, home away clash, all those jumpers up there as well as VFL this year and the shorts. And then you just saw the number and name of each player. You go in, you pick which one you want, add it to cart, and away you go. However, the pictures they had up were with the sponsors and I think it was the sponsor on the front as well. Just above below the collar, they had the sponsor Plungy, and then all the sponsors on the back, like my Matt Rowell there. That one's from 2020. However, this year, I don't think it happened last year because I didn't hear anything about it. This year, they sent out a bunch of jumpers without all that stuff on it. So there was no sponsors on the back. The Plungy logo wasn't there. It's just a clean jumper. Just it looked boring as hell. But for me to spend $200 on an Isaac Rankin, um, to get a very clearly unworn, I mean, so clearly unworn that it was still in its original packaging, never been taken
Didn't
out.
some of them have the tags on them as well?
Yeah,
I
so
vaguely remember you saying some had the on-field tags on them.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
the
Yeah.
retail swing
Yeah,
tag.
yeah, yeah. The
They
tag.
still
Yeah.
had the tag attached to them, and it was to then see others have match worn, very clearly match worn, stained dirt jumpers paying the same price is very disheartening. And I think it's a little bit shit, to be honest, from Gold Coast. Not the way it should have been done at all. They could have clearly acknowledged that they had some player issue jumpers with the sponsors, potentially match Warns ones, in a different category, and then had these other ones. You can still pick yourself up a Isaac Rankin player issue if you like, for cheaper, because people would be happy to pick up the ones without sponsors. I, though, not happy to pick up ones without sponsors. That's not doesn't fit in my collection. Not interested at all. So when I got mine, didn't have a sponsor on it, wasn't interested. I was very unhappy, as a matter of fact. Credit to the Gold Coast Suns, however. I sent an email to them a couple of days ago telling them my displeasure of it, and that I was really disappointed that that's what we received. But I was basically just asking if any of the jumpers left over had those sponsors, so he pressed on, so I could actually pick one up and have one from this year that I felt was a legitimate player issue, on field jumper with everything attached to it, as you would see on the ground. And they did email me back this morning, actually, saying that they were aware that everyone's disappointed with that it happened, and if I would like one of those jumpers, then to place my order for one, and then put in the notes, please make sure that it has all the sponsors on it. Which, okay, they could have done that originally, and it would have probably fixed a lot of issues as well. Probably should have just had them separate categories, like I say. But the fact that they've acknowledged that they made a mistake, but they've also said that if I then place the order and they don't have it, they'll just refund me the money. So I guess it's a fix, but it's not really a 100% fix because I may still not end up with a jumper that I want. I just got to keep guessing that I may end up getting one.
Makes you wonder how many complaints they got.
Yeah, I'd say they got a few.
Quite a few if there'd be like a generic email they've sent out to quite a few people because I reckon they've had a lot of complaints.
Potentially, I don't know about generic email. It seemed pretty normal email or directed at me, but um, yeah, it is weird. The fact that they don't have a list of what's left as well is pretty odd. I don't know where the jumpers are being housed in that point. At that point, um, the fact that they said just put an order in. If we have it, we'll send it to you. Otherwise, we'll just refund you. Means that I'm just gonna have to keep putting an order in until eventually I get one that they have, and they don't refund me anymore and actually send it to me. So I guess it's the learnings that they'll take from that, and they'll do something differently next year. I hope. But anyway, we'll find out. St Kilda Saints, I believe I may have mentioned it in the last one. They had an online auction for some jumpers, which I um, actually have behind me. Ooh, I almost pulled the whole table down there.
Just pulled all our cameras down and everything then.
But I'm going to just grab the jumper that I picked up from the Saints auction while you get to look at the pretty M for a moment.
You stare at my hat.
Probably a good idea if you say something.
I don't know what you want me to say. Oh, shit. That's not what you think it is it?
Saints one's gone.
Oh, my God. Everything's falling down.
Well, I've made an absolute mockery of that.
You should have kept the camera on yourself. That would have been even more entertaining.
I actually just found that I put the Isaac Rankin side as well, so you'll be able to see what I'm talking about here. So this is the Rankin that I received from the Gold Coast Suns locker room sale for $200 plus $15 postage as well, express postage. So as you can see, nothing
Brand
underneath the collar.
spanking new.
So it looks really plain and boring, if I do say so myself, on the front. Still got GPS pocket. Still got the number that Rankin played was capped, I guess, the number in which player he was to make his debut. And then a lot of people I've noticed asking what the sizing is. So you got size M+5 there, and that means that he's a medium +5, either inches or centimeters. I know in America they do it as inches. In Australia it could be centimeters. I'm not too sure. But that basically just means that it's a normal medium-sized jumper. Then they add 5 either centimeters or inches of length to it as well, especially for those taller players or people that like to wear jumpers a bit baggy, long, like clearly Isaac does. And this is the back. So as you can see at the top there, completely blank. No sponsor logo heat pressed onto it at all. Still has the Host Plus,
You're having a great day today, aren't you?
the Host Plus logo on the bottom there. And the only reason you can tell this is 2022, not 2021, is that Host Plus logo has the plus on the end of it because 2021 didn't have the plus.
It's got 22 on the back.
And oh yeah, it's 22. But yeah, that is that. Clean and boring for me anyway. Super boring. So the next jumper that I was mentioning was the Adelaide. It's a St Kilda jumper. So this is a St Kilda jumper that I got from auction, and it is the Dan Butler hot cross bun St Kilda jumper. Beautiful design. I remember when we played Saints, so Freo versus St Kilda in round 2, maybe. I think it was round 2, when they knocked us off, and it was quite disappointing. So there's also a sign there by Dan, as you can see. When they knocked us off, I thought, geez, I really like that design. It's awesome. Sponsor logo on the back. Hello. There's a sublimated, unlike the Suns, which were heat pressed, would have fixed those issues. So everything on the St Kilda jumper is sublimated. And another thing is with the Saints jumper and the St Gold Coast jumper, both made by New Balance. And the reason there was plungy on there is because they sold the rights to another sponsor to be able to make some more money. So we have St Kilda have Dare, Gold Coast would have had plungy, and next year, at the moment, if you've seen the West Coast Eagles jumpers, they're also being made by New Balance. But if you've seen the pictures, you would have seen that it actually has the New Balance logo where the Dare logo is here. But next year, you'll see something a little bit different when that jumper actually comes out with the sponsor on it. I believe. It could be wrong. They may not sell it yet, but there's a few clubs actually doing that. So Hawthorn are going to be doing that as well. They're not with New Balance though. They're a different club. But they will have sketches underneath the collar.
Sketches, like shoe sketches.
Yes.
Why?
That's who's bought the rights to that spot.
Okay.
So
My slipper sandals are sketches.
they are.
I'm wearing them right now.
So there, that's my Gold Coast. No, God damn.
God, Jane.
It's because it's
Do you want
red.
to call it Fremantle
It's
as well?
It's red. It's putting me off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's my St Kilda Saints hot cross buns jumper from their recent auction, which I think cost me about $260, something like that. Pretty cheap, I thought, for a Dan Butler hot cross buns anyway. There was a lot more that went much more expensive than that.
Crooked. Is my head crooked?
I think you're good, mate. Now I will say I did mention Adelaide before, or I almost mentioned Adelaide. I did pick up an Adelaide jumper as well. Let me just drag it over here. You know what? I'm just going to throw everything else away. Gone. Now, Adelaide Crows, they did their auction on OM, official memorabilia, and it came in a nice presentation box. it is a really nice box for sure. Open her up. Hope it doesn't fall out.
Here,
See
want
how
me
way
to grab
far. You're good.
you hold the jersey, I'll hold
There
the floor.
you go. So that's my Adelaide Crows 2022 player issue clash jumper, Luke Nankervis. A really nice red jumper. I went with the red just because it was different. It looked pretty cool on TV when you watch it in game. When it came, I wasn't as impressed. I think I actually said straight away, I
Yeah,
was
you
like,
said to me, I don't like it. Oh, not don't like it, but you're not. The red didn't seem as nice in person as it did on TV.
yeah, you're right. I wasn't sold on it. I actually kind of thought, probably wouldn't mind a home one because I really like the Hungry Jacks sponsor on the back. Now, show you.
But red and yellow, well, this red just doesn't go very well with this yellow.
Yeah, I love the Hungry Jack sponsor, but for some reason, it does look a lot better on the home jumper.
I think it's because these are two different reds as well. So that's a different red to that. That's a nice red. That's a very dark. It's a
I'm
lot darker than
also
you thought
I
it would be.
wasn't 100% sold on the material. I'm not sure. It's all right. It's not bad. It's just I don't know. I'm not completely sold on it. I'll be honest. And I still haven't worked out what this is. So on the on the GPS pocket, is this really oddly cut out shape, and I guess it's so you can put the pocket in there. Just why they cut it like that, I have no idea. Potentially, there's a reason for it. If anyone wants to tell me, please do. Because yeah, I'm not too sure about it. It looks a little bit weird. And then you've got the sizing label on there as well. So yeah, that was my Crows pickup, which came in a very nice box.
Now it's going to take you forever to get it
But
back in there.
yeah,
Put it on the floor. We'll deal with it later.
just throw it on the floor.
Deal with it later.
Anyway, that was my pickups from other clubs, and I picked up some Freo stuff as well, just from some connections, I guess you want to say. So I had a good week, or good 2 weeks since the last podcast. And I think that's pretty much it from what I have seen is currently on anyway. But don't forget, the St Kilda Saints auction is coming up very shortly. Matter of fact, I am going to check when that is because I've completely forgot when that is.
Which?
The Adelaide Crows. My God. I keep saying Adelaide Crows. I'm obsessed with the Crows today for some reason. The St Kilda Saints end of season locker room sale that they're
I
doing.
don't know what that is.
I believe it is next week.
I know when the Freo sale is. That's in my diary.
So yeah, go on. Tell us when the Freo sale is, Em.
The 5th? Oh
Well,
my
you said you
God.
knew what it was when it was. Yes, you're right. It is the 5th.
See? Good wife.
5th of November.
Good wife. It's in my diary. It's in huge capital letters in my diary. And when I say I didn't put it there, Erin wrote that in there. Don't you forget.
Yeah, I'm not going to forget when it is.
No, I know you're not going to forget, but you don't want me to forget and book my clients in. So you're like, nope.
I have completely forgotten when the Saints auction is. I know it's very soon, however. But anyway, mentioned it in the last episode. I can't remember. We mentioned it in the last episode. That's all that matters. If you don't remember what that was, please go back and watch the last episode and you'll remember what it is. But anyway, so the Freo end of season locker room sale is the 5th of November, and the St Kilda end of season locker sale, I believe, is this upcoming weekend. So hopefully you're listening to this show the week it is coming out, because if you're not, it was in the past. Sorry you missed it. All right, so that's pretty much it. I haven't seen anything else. No other auctions at the moment. I believe Sydney will probably have one when they want to auction off their grand final jumpers that they wore or didn't wear. I'm not too sure what they're doing with them, but I haven't seen any other current auctions for AFL teams. There will be some Pride jumper auctions coming up, probably starting this weekend as well, because the AFLW Pride round is on this weekend. So make sure you keep an eye out for that. They do look great and probably go fairly affordable too. which is great because AFLW jumpers are currently cheap enough where you don't have to break the bank to get yourself a good jumper. Where in future they could be worth a lot more. Kind of what the AFL was doing. So will be interesting to see. But they'll have some great jumpers as well. There's some awesome designs out there. Emma,
Yes.
the next segment,
Mm-hmm.
viewer questions. I look forward to this.
I don't.
I look forward to answering the questions, but then I really look forward to the last question. Emma, what have we got?
Yeah.
Please ask me the questions. You're the one that
Alright.
has the power.
Are you
Yeah, I'm ready.
ready? This one is from Ryan Webb. Player trade questions. What will get Jackson and Sharp over the line, and is there anyone else we are after? Funny that.
Funny that. I reckon I'm going to take a guess here that it might take pick 13, a future first, and a future second to get Luke Jackson over the line.
You reckon?
I reckon.
Mate.
I reckon we might get it. Oh, what? Oh, we got him. Look at
Oh,
that.
look at that. We got him.
Got him. And it took exactly what I said, too.
You're just a fucking
I'm just a
genius.
genius. And
I was doing so well. You're a
she's
flipping
off.
genius.
She's
I'm
off.
sorry.
We almost made this one a non-explicit podcast,
You're a
but we
flipping
failed there.
genius. Totally
Uh,
brilliant.
so yes, we got Luke Jackson over the line. Jeremy Sharp, I don't know. So there's a lot of talk about Sharp from Gold Coast. I'm not really sure if it's even a possibility. It sounds like Gold Coast want to keep him. We just got Josh Corbett last week. I don't even think there's a need for Jeremy Sharp. I'm gonna be perfectly honest though. I don't know anything about him. Funny thing is, I didn't know anything about Will Brodie last year either. I actually asked a couple of people who are Gold Coast fans and say, you know, what's he like? Because I've never heard of him, and look how good he was. So if Josh Corbett comes in and does the not same thing that Will Brodie does because he's a forward, but if he has the same sort of impact that Brodie has, it's going to be another bargain basement pick, which the Gold Coast Suns have a serious habit of doing. Whoever their list manager is that has been for the last few years, he needs to go. Gold Coast is screwing themselves by having this guy run this because he's screwing the club. Obviously, their retention from all their players that they've had over the years is always going to be difficult because the salary cap isn't easy to keep these great players that they've been able to accumulate with these picks that they've had. But they're almost giving them away at this point. So when we got Brayshaw to give up Lockie Weller for him for pick 2, so giving them Lockie Weller and getting us pick 2 is criminal. And to get Andy Brayshaw, who's probably going to win a Brownlow medal in the next few years, was probably one of the worst starts to a draft mega trade that they've ever done. And it's just gotten worse and worse from there. So they've screwed themselves a couple of times with Geelong, done it again this year, and then they've handed us Will Brodie last year, and then they've handed us Josh Corbett this year for a 4th rounder, I believe. So that's basically a nothing pick. So if that one comes off in our favour again, there's no way that the Gold Coast Suns list manager can still be there next year because he's screwing that club over. Seriously, obviously, I don't think it's intentionally, but I would want to be Gold Coast Suns at the moment.
Idiot.
But yeah, so we have Luke Jackson on board, and I believe what's something super exciting is the only other one that I think that we're looking at the moment is Anthony McDonald, Tip and Woody. That excites me greatly.
I like him.
He's just a nice guy.
I want him.
Every time we see him doing an interview or something, he's just always super nice. Even on field, he's always really nice to players. But he can seriously play football as well. So if we got him, I think it would be great for us. We've obviously had great history with Indigenous players as well. Just to have more in the club is always a good thing. And just to be with those young boys as well, teaching his experience over the so many years that he's played to our young boys and then run through the forward line or even on the wing potentially with Blake Acres gone would just be a thing of beauty, I think. And he will look great in purple as well.
He would.
All right, question number 2.
Next, from Blake Morley. Is that
Yep.
right? Blake Morley? Yeah, anyway. If you could have any footy jumper, either player or design, that you don't currently own, what would it be and why?
It's a good question. I think I've answered it a few times in the audio podcast. Probably answered it differently every time, and it's probably going to be different again today. Um, any jump? Well, actually, no, it probably won't be because I think the last time I answered it will be the same way I answered it today. The 1999 sideways anchor, Tony Modra. So the first time that Freo ever won a derby was wearing the sideways anchor, which they wore this year as a part of the retro round. Tony Modra kicked 6 goals in that game. Essentially, he won us the game. Kicked a great one from the boundary line with Ashley McIntosh hanging off of him, and just he's a god. That's why they call him Godra.
Mhm.
So to have a match jumper of Godra would be great, but to have the sideways anchor would be probably the ultimate whale for anyone to have, especially if you knew it was from that derby as well. Would be the absolute ultimate jumper. If I was to go a non-Frio jumper, that's a very difficult question. I believe the first time I ever answered that was a Peter Matera West Coast Eagles jumper because I used to be a West Coast fan, believe it or not. But that was back in the day before Frio came along, so don't get too excited. Yeah, I don't know. So I haven't really thought too much about that. I've had a Wayne Carey North Melbourne jumper. I missed out on a Crows one. There is one up on eBay right now, which will be finished by the time this is over. So I'm going to have a crack at that because I have mentioned how I missed out on one years ago and I've always regretted missing it. So I'm going to give that one another crack. But yeah, so I've had pretty much all the big players. I've had them before. Maybe a Tony Lockett Swans jumper would be pretty cool. Not so much a St Kilda jumper. Didn't mind him at Saints, but I guess my age, by the time he got to Sydney, is where I really started taking on AFL. Something I really loved, and yeah, maybe a Tony Lockett Sydney jumper, or even a Gold Coast, a Gary Ablett Senior jumper from Geelong would probably be my top wants, I reckon. Hmm. Thanks, Blake. Question 3.
Another Blake. Blake Cook, our mate.
G'day, Blake.
G'day, mate. Do you keep all your match worn with stains and possible mold with all your jumpers, or are they in a different locker?
No, they're all kept in the same spot. Um, None of them are super moldy or dirty or muddy. However, when I did have them that were, I would make sure they're obviously hung up out to dry for a couple of weeks first. So a lot of people were asking about these jumpers that have come from auctions this year, what to do with them because they're filthy or muddy or potentially getting mold on them. First thing you should do when you get them is just hang them out on the washing line, let them air dry for a couple of weeks. Um, could be a couple of nights, but a couple of weeks is probably a good idea just to make sure it's completely clear of all moisture, so it doesn't go moldy on you. Once it's air dried, it's pretty safe. If there is one that's got a little bit of dirt still on it from the ground, maybe it's covered in mud, I'll probably just space it out from the other ones a little bit, but they are all in the same cabinets. Um, Probably not as picky as other people as far as what they do with those ones. Some of them vacuum seal them or yeah, keep them completely separated. But no, they're all in the same cabinets for me. Thanks, Blake.
Next question is from James Earl, but technically the same question got asked by Dave Causey anyway. Same question, just worded differently.
Okay.
Do you keep a catalogue of all the jumpers you own and have previously owned? If so, how long is that list? And Causey's was basically the same. How do you document and keep track of your jumpers, spreadsheet, info sheet per jumper?
Okay, so great question. We actually get asked that question a lot, especially not just here, but on the Match Worn Player Issue Marketplace, all those Facebook pages. People ask that question a hell of a lot, how people catalog their stuff. For me, it's super simple. My cataloging is my taking photos. I don't write down a spreadsheet of all the jumpers and how much I pay for them, all that. I'm usually pretty good. My memory is pretty good as far as how much I paid for something, where I got it from. Um, but yeah, so I catalog it straight away. As soon as I get a new jumper in, I take a photo of it. So it's in my phone, but it's also on multiple different pages. So I will link them all in the description if I figure out how to do that. Of all my different pages. So I have the AFL Guernsey collection page on Facebook. Also got my own personal Facebook page where I have 2 albums as well. I've got Match Worn AFL jumpers, which has the wider collection and the Freo Pages album as well. So just Freo ones. Also have non-Freo or non-AFL jumpers in there as well. So they're catalogued in a lot of different places. I do have a website too, which is a Weebly website. I think it's AFL Guernsey Collection .weebly.com potentially. Hasn't been updated in a long time, but I will eventually. But yeah, so my catalog is purely just taking photos, and my memory is pretty good as far as where I've got everything from. So I don't spreadsheet stuff. Dave Causey actually sent me a video, or sorry, a couple of pictures today of what he does, which is super interesting, which I will show you on video now, so you can see what that looks like and how he does it. Pretty cool, and it's probably something I may even look at doing in the future. However, I've got some sort of digital imprint thing that I'm going to try and work on as well. So everyone's got their own little thought process of how they want to do things. Some people write out Excel spreadsheets, and then like Dave, he has his own, I guess, a Word thing that he's written up with descriptions of players and the jumpers and all the stats and everything when they actually finish. However, with my old jumpers, I definitely don't catalog them. As soon as I sell them or part with them or trade them or whatever, I delete them from memory. Memory on my phone, memory on all of my pages, and then out of my memory bank here. Purely because most of the time when I sell things, I regret it later. So I don't want that to happen. So I immediately try and forget about it. And actually, a perfect example of that exact reason came up just 2 or 3 days ago when someone mentioned that they were so appreciative of my help from back in the day, a long time ago now, when I sold them a Clive Waterhouse jumper. And I couldn't for the life of me remember selling this jumper or having this jumper in my collection. But he was very adamant that I did. So I've obviously done super, super well to forget about that jumper because I'm an idiot for ever wanting to sell a Clive Waterhouse jumper and probably at the time didn't realize how difficult that would be to get. So that's a perfect example of what happens when I sell them and I try to forget that I ever had them because I most of the time regret selling them. And most of the time I don't want to. It's just when I do sell them or trade them, it's to get more jumpers. Um, so yeah, I've gone through a lot of jumps that I wish I didn't sell is basically what I'm trying to say there. But thank you for your questions, Dave and James. And James, if you want to share how you catalog your jumpers, please let us know, or you can tag your pages on the comments down below as well. Thanks. Emma.
Next one. Well, this isn't the last one, but this is the second last one. Getting to the ground.
Yeah, we're getting there.
This one's from Lynchy, Anthony Lynch.
We've got another one as well because you just don't want to say the name. That's why you're trying to skip over it. But we'll get to that.
No, I'm putting it at the end anyway.
Oh, sorry, it is. Sorry, yeah, you're right. It is. Yeah,
But I'm really sorry. Anyway, this one's from Lynchy.
Anthony Lynch.
Insurance, your thoughts on it? Some people have expensive collections with lots of rare items. House and contents won't cover the majority of it. Have you got your collection insured as a one-off collection, or are you just happy to take the risk on your house and contents?
Well, good question. Great question. Because, yeah, another thing we get asked a lot. I have quite a bit in here in the cave, as we are in right now, which terrifies me because it's not connected to the house. It's on the outside of the house. It's very scary. When I first put everything out here, I was terrified. I had some sleepless nights because I just heard a bang outside, and immediately I come running outside. I was shit scared that something was going to go missing. So when we got the house, we did look into insurance straight away with our provider, which I believe is Ing.
Yep.
You've seen the adverts,
ING.
Isla Fisher. We looked into that. And we asked the question of, can we insure our merchandise or memorabilia, as they put it? They said, yeah, absolutely. Catalog everything. And I said, well, probably not going to happen, I'll be honest. I got 300 odd jumpers and a lot of other things. So they basically just said, okay, well, give us an estimate of what it's worth. And I think I gave the estimate of about $100,000. They said without being able to come out and have a look, they couldn't catalog, couldn't give us that value without coming in individually cataloging everything. Funny thing with that is when they come out, they see how much there actually is, they basically say to you, well, you know more about this than I do. We're just going to take your word for it. So not everybody will do that, though. There are particular insurance mobs that handle just collections or just memorabilia, and their price is usually quite high for their premiums. It's pretty high, but I guess they have better coverage as well. I think with our coverage, it's going to cover, theft or damage, but there's a few other things they may not cover, or how they cover it's another story. So whether they give you the full amount of what something's worth, or they give you half or whatever, but as long as it's, if this place was to burn down, essentially, you can't really replace it. I pretty much would lose $100,000 worth of stuff just in moments.
They're not going to go out and find all those jumpers again and be like, here, we've replaced them for you, because you can't.
Well, that's right. And you can't replace one of ones either. So I have David Mundy's 300 game jumper in here. There's only 2 of those.
The one that's ripped in half. It's only one of those.
Exactly right. So never going to be able to replace those, unfortunately, for the player issue ones. Maybe you can, but then all you're doing then is just trying to rebuy jumpers. Not an easy thing to do. So insurance is great because your monetary value, you want to try and keep up that as much as possible, replace as much as you possibly can. But unfortunately, sentimental value and just the attachment that you have to these jumpers and the reason you bought them in the first place will just never be replaced, unfortunately. So highly recommend you at least ask the question of your insurer and get them out to have a look and see what they'll insure them for, because if you do have to try and replace the jumpers, money's obviously going to help that. You'll never get that feeling back, however, unfortunately, of why you got them in the first place. But money certainly helps. Unfortunately, this thing does not happen without the almighty dollar. So thank you, Lynchy, for that. And here we are, the last question, which I'm very excited to answer.
So it's from, is it Jürgen Goether?
I believe so, yeah.
How you say it? If I've said it wrong, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we apologize.
It took me forever to try and figure out how to say your name. I didn't want to pronounce it wrong.
And we did do the Google pronunciation thing as well, where they told us how to pronounce it, but we still weren't too sure.
If it's wrong, I'm sorry. And then give us a video on how to say it. All right, are you ready for this?
I am so ready.
I'm not.
For this.
I am so sorry. You all are going to think so differently of me after this video.
So make sure. So Em will ask the question, and then we're going to jump straight over to this video to answer that question. But then we'll come back and we'll explain why this just happened.
Still won't be any
and
less embarrassing.
we'll give you an actual answer to your question, which thank you so much for asking it.
This is not football related. It is WWE related. Why is Roman Reigns still the champion of both titles in WWE?
All right, here we go. I'm going to jump over to that video now. So here we go. Here's our answer for you, Jürgen.
I am the big dog. I am the head of the table, your tribal chief. There is only one podcast to watch, and it is mine, and it is Kick It to Pips. I am the head of the table. Forget the rest, the so-called big dogs, if you'd pardon the pun. I am your tribal chief, and you will acknowledge me. I am the one. I am your people's champion. If you're not watching my podcast, forget the others. Forget old Bull Young Buck. Forget Kick It to Scoops. There is only one podcast, and it's the Cave Sessions at the Player Issue Podcast. If you're not in that cave, I don't know where you are, but you're not watching that, and you should watch it, because you're not, and you should watch it. And I'm the only one. There's only me. It's only me. Look at this dickhead. What about you can be like this dickhead? No, what? No, you're not. Piss off. I'm done with you. What? You want to go? Come here, cameraman. Come here, cameraman. Chop. I am the head of the table. And if you do not acknowledge me, this is what will happen to you. This is what will happen to you. You will acknowledge me. Let's go watch the show. I'm not going to watch it, but you're going to watch it. And I am the head of the table. Forget the rest. I am the big dog. fucking hole. Oh, it's on the other foot, isn't it? Come on, Molly.
That happened. And I know that some of you are probably sitting there going, what the hell did we just watch? Now, there's an explanation for this.
Oh my
If you watch Kick It to Scoops, we won't hold it against you for a start. But his videos, I don't know how to explain them. His YouTube videos, his podcast he does on YouTube is horrendous.
he thinks he is the best, and that the sun shines out of his backside. You notice I said backside, I didn't say something else. And his videos are so bad, but he thinks they're so good. And
it's cringy as hell.
It's
Now,
so terrible.
this video that we just made, which we made this afternoon, by the way, only literally moments before we come in and started filming this, something we've been wanting to do for quite some time since we saw his little intro video that he made for episode 50 of Kick It to Scoops. So if there's one video of Kick It to Scoops that you should watch, it's
Watch
the
that.
first 3 minutes of episode 50. Do not watch it after that because it's awful.
It's terrible. But pretty much what you just saw was what he did. But he was being serious. I'm just taking the mickey, honestly. But it's exactly what he does. And I hurt my freaking toe for that. Like,
I think the kick was the best
the
part.
kick. I hurt my toe so badly for that. It's not exact to what he does, but it's pretty spot on. He just keeps going on and on and on and on and on. And we've watched that video so many times because he's being deadly serious in it.
You notice our video was 2 minutes and 5 seconds long or something like that. His went for about 3.5 to 3 minutes 45, just repeating himself over.
Saying he is the one. And you think me tackling the dummy is funny? I'll go watch his. He chases a seagull.
Just watch it.
Just watch it. Just watch it. But mine is better. Mine is better. But you'll get where I got that from. Now, please answer the damn question if we have any listeners and watchers left.
Please, just do yourself a favor, and after you've seen this, if you haven't already seen it, if you've already seen it, hopefully you're pissing yourself laughing like we were making it and then watching it multiple times. Even just then when we played that video, we played it live. So we didn't have any audio while it was happening for you at the same time. But we were just watching it and just pissing ourselves. It's
so red in the face.
But so please do yourself a favor. If you haven't seen it, go and watch it. Kick It to Scoops episode 50, the first 3.5 minutes or so. Cringe among all cringe. And he was definitely being dead serious in making that video. So we just made a little bit of a piss take of that and had so much fun doing it.
You asking that question, it was my moment. I had to recreate that video. I have analyzed his walk, his talk. I watched that video so many times today to make sure that video was perfect. But now I realize that you're all going to think I'm a freaking nutter. That's not me. That's not me on a daily basis.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not.
I love how your English accent came into it.
Oh yeah,
well.
I got really pommy, didn't I? I'm like, I can't remember what I was saying, but what? Piss off! What? You what? Piss off! Yeah, I got really English, didn't I?
You did. You got super English. But anyway, thank you very much for the question, Jurgen. I just lit up as soon as I saw your question because I knew that was exactly what we were going to do, was make that snip. We always wanted to recreate it just to take the piss. We finally got the chance to do it, and I couldn't be happier with the outcome and the results.
Just remember, I tackled the dummy that's behind Erin, which is hard. It's solid.
It is.
I tackled that and kicked it. My toe still hurts. My knee hurts from tackling it. My toe hurts from kicking it. All for your entertainment. You are welcome.
We did that in 3 takes as well. So pretty good. Like we didn't have to refilm
To be
much at all.
fair, me running in the shed, I was actually just mucking around, putting the mannequin back. I was just having a good time. I returned around, Erin's filming, and the freaking leg falls off. It was just, yeah.
Yeah,
Look, have a
good
laugh.
fun.
It's fine. Think I'm an idiot. That's fine. You're welcome.
That's what we're here for, and we're here for entertainment
Entertainment.
purposes. Hopefully, you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
If you would like to see more videos like this,
No.
please let us know in
No.
the comments.
No, I'm not doing it again.
We will do whatever
No
videos
more.
you like.
No,
Let us know your ideas,
don't
what
you
you want to
dare.
see,
Stop it.
and we'll
Stop
create
it.
it for you.
Stop it. Stop it. Just answer the question. Poor Jurgen's been waiting for you to answer the question. And we give him you're gonna be sorry you ever asked this question. You'll be so sorry you asked this question.
I wonder if he's even a WWE fan, because
I know.
the fact that you spear tackled Matt Rowell was good enough for me. But
That hurt.
so okay, his question
The
now,
question.
which I'm going to
Why-
answer dead seriously too, by the way.
Why is he shit? Good question.
Why is he shit? Well, he's not shit. So why is Roman Reigns still a double champion in WWE? I'm going to answer dead seriously, because he's probably the best character in WWE right now. And why wouldn't you have the belts on anybody but the best character in the show? That's as simple as that. There isn't anyone built up big enough to take it off him at this point. Obviously, Brock Lesnar was bouncing in and out and could have taken him off at any point, but wasn't always going to stick around like he hasn't now as well. He's taken off again. So you don't want to have a part-time wrestler. Roman Reigns isn't a part-time wrestler. Yes, he's part-time in the ring now. I would say part-time, but the best thing about the champion, I think, is leaving him for pay-per-view. So he wrestles once every month or once every 2 months. What's it looking like at the moment? And at the big shows only. But his character is amazing. When he was a face, so a good guy in wrestling, for those playing at home, wrestling talk, when he was a face, people hated him with a passion because he just didn't have it for a good guy. So people just wanted to hate him. So it took forever to get to that point. But now they've got to the point where everybody hates him, and he is absolutely reveling in it. And his character is amazing.
It's funny because everyone hates him, but everyone loves him all at the same time now. Like they hate him because he's a wanker. Like his character is a wanker. Like he is a prick. But everyone loves that character in a sense.
Yeah.
So they love him, but they hate him.
100%. So that's exactly what wrestling is. That's what you want from wrestling. People didn't want to hate him. They don't hate him in real life.
No, they hate the character he is. Just the attitude. I don't know how to explain it. The attitude of the character.
Okay,
You know.
I'll give you Baron Corbin, for instance. Have you ever liked Baron Corbin?
No. He's terrible.
And why is that?
His characters are terrible. He's not exciting. He's not anything. He's just terrible. They keep coming up with these stupid characters for him.
So you always hate him.
Yeah, I don't like him. As soon as I see him, I'm like, why the hell is this guy still wrestling?
And that means he's doing his job perfectly,
Oh,
right?
yeah, exactly,
So
yeah.
he's a perfect example of a heel character that people just despise and just want to hate. So he does his job absolutely perfectly. And he's probably a super nice human being outside of the ring. And I've heard some stories about him being a really nice guy. So perfect heel, great job. Maxwell Jacob Friedman from AEW as well is a perfect heel. So much so that he even went on the Stone Cold Steve Austin podcast a couple of years ago and played, I don't know what that noise was, but he played his character to perfection on the podcast, which no one's done that before. Usually go on the podcast as yourself, but MJF went on almost entirely in character, and it was hilarious. So if you haven't listened to that, go listen to the Stone Cold Steve Austin podcast with MJF. Great stuff. Fantastic. The end of it is just gold. I think I showed you the end of it multiple times. But anyway, back to the reasoning. Everyone wanted to hate MJF. Everyone wanted to hate Roman Reigns because he just didn't have it as a good guy, but you could just tell he's a good-looking guy, muscly guy, that if he was an arrogant prick, everyone would hate him. And he is a good wrestler, and he's actually a pretty good talker. So funny thing is, when he was trying to be a good guy, he just couldn't get out his words because I guess it just wasn't who he was. So there was a point where John Cena blasted him in the ring. They were doing a promo in the ring, but Roman forgot his words because obviously it's a scripted television show. Sorry if I gave that away for anyone, but it's a scripted TV show where they've got a script and they have to read from it back and forth. And he's forgotten his words halfway through this promo, and John Cena's literally said to him, "It's a promo if you've forgotten your words," and he just went off on a tangent. And it was just the funniest thing ever. And Roman just stood there like a stunned mullet and just smiled back at him because he didn't know what to say. But that was at that point where you could just tell that he needed to turn heel. Everyone wanted to hate him. They didn't want to cheer him because he was just a douchebag as a character. He just didn't have any qualities you wanted to cheer. But as a heel, fantastic. And the thing about him is he's such a good heel that a lot of people are cheering him because he's so good at it. He's just fun to watch now. And he gets probably more cheers than he ever did as a bad guy, which people still hate, funny enough. It's kind of like Stone Cold Steve Austin. Stone Cold Steve Austin was the ultimate bad guy, flipped off his boss, drank on the job. Everything is should be a heel or a bad guy that no one cheered, but everybody did because it was cool. He's the cool bad guy that everyone wanted to be, really, essentially. And Roman Reigns is just cool. And now he's a champion. The reason he's the hated heel is because he's a double champion. He can't take his belts off him and gets away with it by his family members or the bloodline always helping him win matches. But that's what keeps him a heel because he's not winning them cleanly and everyone's hating him because he can't win a match by himself. But people still want to cheer him because he's actually quite good at his character. So that is why he still has both belts. And until they build up another character that everyone is so over the top, just in love with, not in love with, but obsessed with the fact that they are their favorite character and is so good that they have to win and they just riding on every moment and every bump for him to win that match. Roman Reigns is still going to be a double champion until there is somebody good enough. And as of yesterday, I think there will be someone good enough.
Oh, they didn't. Not what we think it was it?
Well, I hope you're thinking about the same person I am.
Like, I don't want to
Drawing
say
a blank here, but
I don't want to
it's
say
happened.
it in case. Oh, has it happened? Has it?
It happened yesterday.
Okay.
So Bray Wyatt made his
Okay.
return
Yes.
to
I
WWE
was going
yesterday.
completely opposite direction.
Who are you
Yes.
thinking?
Never mind.
I'm interested in who are you thinking.
I thought you were talking about The Rock.
Okay, well, yeah, but see, if The Rock comes back, I don't think it'll be for a
To
championship.
win anything, yeah. It'll be more to put him in his place.
Unfortunately, because WWE has been so predictable over the last few years, that's the way Vince McMahon's kind of run it. Is it's been super predictable. The Rock does come back and wrestles Roman Reigns for a championship at WrestleMania. You can always put a line through the Rock winning the match. Why? Because the Rock is going to come back as the almighty of the family. So obviously Roman Reigns says he's the tribal chief, the head of the table, all this. He is the one.
You will acknowledge
him.
me.
But obviously the Rock will come back saying, well, I was the original head of the table. I was the tribal chief. That's how it's going to be.
I thought you meant match is going to win it off him, but when you talk about working someone up, then yes, Bray Wyatt, yes.
Yeah, well, so obviously the Rock's already had his time. He's going to come in. There's no way he's going to win the championship for Roman Reigns. What's that going to do for Roman Reigns? Absolutely nothing.
What's it going to do for The Rock? Because he's not going to continue wrestling.
Oh,
because he's more into acting at the moment.
Exactly
yeah.
right. Yeah. So it'd be pointless putting a title on him. So I think if Rock comes back, they face off, no title on the line. Roman Reigns will still win, but it'll just make things a little bit more potential. It could go either way. But what I see happening is obviously Bray Wyatt's back, and the reaction to him yesterday was, from all reports, absolutely gigantic. Obviously, it's been a little while since he's been in the WWE. He was last in as The Fiend. Now he's come back as Bray Wyatt in charge of apparently 6 people. Can't remember what he's called them. But that's exciting as hell. He also doesn't need a belt because his character's just so damn good and he's so good at it that he doesn't need to win a championship. Wins a championship, where's he go from there? It's difficult. But I think the one person that will take it off him, probably the next person to take one of the belts off Roman, will be Cody Rhodes because of the story. Pretty simple. He's already said that he needs to be a champion. The reason he come back to WWE was do something that his dad, Dusty the Dream Rhodes, couldn't do, the American Dream. And that was win the WWE Championship. So the story is there already. It's already written. Comes back and wins the title, whether it be at WrestleMania or not. I think it will happen at some point, and that puts bow on his career and Dusty's career. So I think the story's already built up, the character's already built up. I would be very surprised if it's not Cody that takes one of the belts off of Roman.
For anyone that does not follow WWE and is all here for football, we are sorry.
Yeah.
It'll probably make absolutely no sense, but enjoy the video that I put together for you.
Yeah. Sorry about that. And we got a little long-winded answer there. I'm a huge wrestling fan as well as obviously a football fan and jumper collector. So I do like to speak about wrestling. And we are going to WrestleMania 39 in April next year at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. So super excited. Obviously, we're going to get back reinvested in wrestling because we want to be involved in come WrestleMania and know what's going on and be as excited as we were when we went to WrestleMania 35. Probably more so actually because you didn't watch really anything before that show happened. You just went along cold almost. So I'm excited. The fact that Triple H is now back in charge of WWE or in charge of WWE instead of Vince McMahon, just I don't know, it's exciting for me and anything could happen. I think that makes WrestleMania exciting for me because I don't think it's going to be as predictable as previous. So anyway, well, let's get off of the wrestling chat.
On.
We have, like I said earlier, we recorded an interview with Brett Attrill, who has been a guest on the audio podcast previously. But so he's come in, brought his jumpers in, and we're going to have a chat about those jumpers. And we'll come back to you after we've had a chat with Brett, previously recorded. But we'll have a chat with you about what's in the cave. So we'll do that segment, what's in the cave, with you when we get back. And then we'll close off the show for the day and move on to episode 3 next week, or potentially the week after. We'll see how we go. All right. Thank you. And over to you, Brett. G'day, Brett. How are we?
Very well, Erin. Good to see you.
Welcome back to the cave. I know it's been a little while since we've been here. I think we just worked it out. Well, you have, because I have no idea nowadays when everybody's been here. But tell us, when is the last time we got together, I guess, because it wasn't in here, was it?
No, it's been almost 3 years since we were together in a man cave or a Guernsey room, but obviously we've bumped into each other a few times around Perth over the last few years. So I think I was guest 12 of the audio podcast.
Guess 12. So, I mean, that sounds like it was a long time. It doesn't sound like that long ago because there's only 30 episodes, but guess 12 is 18 episodes ago, I believe. However, that was, November 2019?
Yeah, I think we recorded October 19 and it was released the first few days of November.
So, yeah, it has been a little while, but we're back now and in a brand new format. It's great for everybody out there, what you're seeing. However, it's been a pain in the ass for myself, and Brett's just been sitting there putting up with it as well for the last 45 minutes trying to get everything going. As per usual, things do not go to plan. Brett's camera's gone down a few times, and no doubt it'll go down again in a moment. But I didn't want to have to edit anything, but it looks like I'm going to have to edit quite a lot. But
it is what it is.
It is the beauty of video editing. And I'm trying to do something really stupid, and I'm probably going to stuff it up. I'm trying to switch. So I'm trying not to edit as much as possible. So I'm trying to switch between the cameras myself on the go. Don't think it's going to end well, but
it is what it is. Spirit of Grand Final week. We're recording this on the Monday of Grand Final week.
We are indeed. So the Brownlow was last night.
Yes.
How'd the Hawks go? I actually have no idea.
Vote to get John Newcomb with 11,
okay,
which is pretty good for his first real season. And Dacos got a lot of press about Collingwood getting 11 and being the rising star. Newcomb didn't get the same recognition, but I guess that's what happens when you haven't got a famous father.
Not wrong. Actually, I didn't really pay attention because obviously Andy Brayshaw was going nuts, so I was a little bit excited about that. But I had $150 riding on Took Miller, so I was getting a little bit excited towards the end there, but didn't quite work out as much as I'd like. But it was a good count though.
It was. I tuned in about halfway through, and I was incredibly surprised how close it ended up being. I thought Lachie Neale had a really good season, and was a little bit surprised that he didn't get it. Missing out by the solitary vote. But it's good to have a close count. keeps the intrigue.
Tell you what, there's a lot of salty Lions fans though. A lot of them are crying foul about the Paddy Cripps vote,
About
the suspension.
Overturned with the lawyers.
Yeah. Yes, they're not too happy because it was against the Lions as well that happened. So yeah, I think it was rather funny actually. I was winding a few people up, but yeah, don't wind me up if it was Brayshaw. I'd be exactly the same, I reckon. All right, so Brett, we haven't just brought you here to chat shit, and no doubt people can see anyway what's in the background of your right shoulder there. So what we're actually going to do today is we're going to pull that. Well, hang on, let me just start from the beginning, shall I? So you'll come around to pick up a jumper, which I don't know if it's in there or if it's put away. Okay, so it's come around to pick up a jumper, and this is the first time it's been
Guernsey.
Oh, okay. Well, we're gonna have a problem here. Did we have a problem last time? Can't remember.
No, not really. I think you were using Guernsey quite a lot last time. So Jersey and Guernsey, we had a brief chat about, I think, from memory.
Wow, I must have been very accommodating.
Yeah.
That's very accommodating to you because it's always jumper for me. So we may have an issue. But anyway, you came to pick up a Guernsey. I'll be nice this time. And you thought, oh well, let's have a look at the cave. You haven't seen the cave before.
Correct.
The new cave.
So
yeah,
first time in person.
So you came round to the old place, didn't you?
Yes.
So it was at the old studio, which was just in a little dingy little room. No video recording, as you can tell. We've got a little bit more upgraded, more messy, I could say.
I don't think we've improved on the orange and yellow lights that we had last time to try and represent the brown and gold.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Actually, I could have done that. So there are lights behind you as well, but I could have actually done that. And there's lights everywhere, but
it's impressive.
None of them are on the brown and gold. Not too sure I'd give that a crack either. But anyway, so we're here at the new cave. Your first time ever here, and you are the very first person to ever do a video recording with us.
There you go. Fantastic.
So that's something, I guess, to hold your hat on, and it's good that you're in Perth. It certainly helps because people aren't going to be able to get over here too often, and I don't think that people are going to want to fly over just for the show.
Well, there's lots of lovely things to see in Perth. So, we've had a couple of repeat guests, or it was only Rob in Queensland?
I believe it's only Rob, but for a proper one-off episode.
Yes.
Oh no, sorry, there have been a few. So we had Craig Evans from the for Freo. He has been on 3 times, I think now.
Geez, I've got to come back again.
You do, and then we had Rob as a dual guest, and I think we've had Clint has been on some off episodes as well. So
there you go.
But you're the first one, the first video. So that's something. That's something definitely. All right, so to get you here was to get your jumper, but what you have decided is to bring your entire freaking suitcase with you.
Well, I'm packing. It's a funny thing, it seems to be every time we catch up, I'm going somewhere, and after being stuck in Perth largely for the last 3 years with COVID and the like, actually flying to Japan on Friday, so I had my suitcase out, and when we said I was going to come down, and you said, bring a couple of Guernseys. So I took that more than literally, and bought a small proportion of my collection. That it's like trying to choose between your favourite kid, and it's impossible. So less is more is less. I don't know what it is, but I thought in the spirit of grand final week, I had to bring a few of my grand final Guernseys along to share.
One may burn.
So maybe we start there by
I suppose
sharing the grand final Guernsey. So many people, are probably aware that I've got Luke Bruce 3-peat Guernseys. So I've got 2013, which is the one that you're talking about that you may want to burn.
Yep. No, it's still lovely. It is a nice jumper, and it is a Freo history, even though it is a Hawks jumper. So
his 2014, Guernsey, which is nice and dirty.
Question for you, actually. I know people will wanna know that there's a tag on that inside of that.
Yes.
What is that?
So in their infinite wisdom, official memorabilia decided. Actually, they did it for 13 as well. Um, they've added a tag as being the auction person and also a registration number, which I think I'm not actually sure who it's registered through, but came with the AFLPA/AFL COA and had these security tags on them as well. But when it came to 2015, nothing.
Mm.
I think there might be a hologram sticker stuck on the Guernsey somewhere, um, but yeah, they're Luke Bruce 13, 14, 15
Mm.
match worn grand final Guernseys. As far as I'm aware, I'm the only person outside of a player to have a complete match worn set. So pretty pleased to have those
Yeah,
in the collection.
as you would be. Yeah, I've got 3 Frio ones myself, but unfortunately none from Win. But hey, we'll get there at some point.
I've got David Hales from 2012, which came from a loss, which yeah, I know what you mean in regards to it's nice to have, but it doesn't have that same gravitas as a winning one does. And
Mm.
I've also got Steve Gillam's 2008, so
Yeah, right.
on the lookout still for an elusive 1991
Mm.
match worn one. But after seeing, I think is it Rob Lee?
Yeah, I was just about to mention that Rob's put up
Yeah.
his yesterday, which is
He's got Darren Jarman's, which interestingly enough, the badge was taken off and the sponsor for 1992 was added. So
mm.
I found that incredibly strange that after such a milestone moment that they, use the the Guernseys the following season.
It's amazing. Like what's it, 30, 31 years. It's really not that long. I'm quite young, I'd say. It's really not that long, and how far it's come to the point that they didn't really give a shit at all
Mm.
about the grand final jumpers. There's so much so that they were like, whatever, just reuse it again next year, and that's happened like even sooner than that. 95 as well. Uh, Carlton reused some of theirs in the VFL the following year,
Okay.
which is baffling to me because you would not see that nowadays.
Yeah, like even in the 16 or so years that I've been collecting, um, the speed of the interest and whatnot, especially in the last 3 years, has probably more than doubled or tripled from where it was, when I first started collecting. And there's lots of younger collectors
Mm.
that I get lots of Instagram messages and Facebook message requests and things like that. Yeah, the interest is huge these days, and particularly over COVID, I think a lot of collectibles, footy cards, Pokemon cards, like anything that was collectible, absolutely went through the roof from a valuation perspective.
God, yes. It's really blown out of proportion. It's so much so that values nowadays are actually super hard
Mm.
to really put a value on. It really does. I think it would have been episode 3, I think, when I said that the value really is the eye of the beholder. So whoever owns that really has, I guess, um, all the cards. They hold all the cards because if they want to sell it, it's up to them how much they want to sell it for. So really, someone could value something at
Yeah,
$300, but if the seller thinks it's worth 600,
yeah,
then
that's
to
the
them
value.
it's worth 600
Yeah.
bucks, and eventually someone's probably going to come along and pay that.
Mm.
So you can't really tell somebody that it's not worth that if someone is willing to pay it.
Oh, and just recently, one of my Guernseys that I thought was somewhere worth in the $700 to $800 range, I had a $1,500 offer on it,
Yeah.
which seems high, but it's not one that I want to let go out of my collection. So I've just updated my spreadsheet with, move the estimated value, because my biggest concern is having quite an extensive collection is that if something was to happen to me, that my wife and kids would get taken advantage of people saying, oh yeah, these are all worth $100 each, or something like that. So a little bit of forward planning I provide them with a bit of an estimate that from time to time I revise. Hopefully I'm around for another 40 plus years, but you never know. So it's always to, I was a Boy Scout as a kid, be prepared.
Oh yeah, for sure. So you have a spreadsheet where you have estimated values, and it's just constantly moving, right?
It is, yeah. Lately, only going one way, up.
Mm.
um, so yeah, it's surprising when I look back at what I've paid for some Guernseys and what they're trading for now and things like that. Yeah, I mean, if I was someone that constantly sold and whatnot, then it'd probably be more interesting. But majority of the time, once something comes into my collection, unless I've got a double or I manage to upgrade to a different player or whatnot, it never
Mm.
leaves the collection.
So, are you finding the value? When did you start collecting?
2006.
2006.
I think
2006.
2006. Yeah.
Fair while. So I know we've talked about this before, but
Mm.
I would hope, fingers crossed, that we have a lot of new viewers through the YouTube videos. So I'll probably go back a lot on some of the old questions. And to be perfectly honest, 3 years ago, I don't remember what happened for breakfast yesterday. So, legitimately, I have no idea what happened for breakfast. Um, so 2006, the values of things, not values. I don't want to keep saying that word because
Cost.
values, the cost, there we go, thank you. The cost of things would have been significantly lower. Not
Mm.
only that, but the competition would have been significantly lower as well.
Indeed.
So, what are you finding now between even the last 5 years? Not even the last 20 years since you started collecting, but the last 5 years that you have seen this monumental shift. Can you see it changing, going down? Can you see it staying, or do you reckon it's going to continue that upward trend?
Well, similar to when you look at housing prices and things like that. You look at it and go, "Gee whiz, I don't know how people are going to be able to continue to afford this and whatnot." So it's got to stop at some point. And then property went up 25-30% over COVID
Yeah.
in Sydney and things like that. So, like, it's very difficult to predict. Certainly some of the prices these days appear very full for compared to where they were a year or two ago. But I think the biggest problem now is there's greater supply. So if you've got a Guernsey from the early 2000s, there might only be one or two that are out there for that player for that season. Whereas in recent milestone games and things like that, you've seen some of the players were 4, 5, 6 Guernseys that have sold at huge premiums that I don't think people are likely to get their money back if they were forced to sell them in the short term. But like it comes down to the player. Your A grade players are always going to trade at a premium compared to player 30 on the list. So I've always been someone that's tended to quality over quantity.
Mm-hmm.
Saying that quantity has exploded in recent times, but the biggest issue now is that we spoke about earlier. Some of the players have started to sell some of their gear to some collectors, and then that's ended up on the secondary market. And like even Hawthorn this year, they auctioned the Anzac Guernsey, which was I might grab it to illustrate to those. So this one is James Sicily's Anzac Guernsey from this year, and it's the first time that Hawthorn's actually had a specific Guernsey with um, the specific Anzac recognition. We've had the Anzac Appeal Shield that's been heat pressed onto a home and away Guernsey previously.
Oh, it's heat pressed.
Yeah, in some previous years, but this year that was the first time that they've done that. And initially Hawthorn auctioned, and the prices for them went extreme. Luke Bruce, for example, went for $1,700.
Wow.
And then recently they've had an events give auction, and another set of some of the players went back up again, and some of the prices ended up being quite a bit lower than what the original auction was.
Mm-hmm.
And now you've got some of the players that have released some of their Anzac into the
Mm.
market as well. So $1,700 for Luke Bruce. I'm not sure whether you're going to get that back.
Mm.
Maybe in 10 years you might, but it would be very difficult to trade that in the short term, knowing that the
Yeah.
second one's traded significantly lower
Yeah.
and the like. So yeah, like it's like everything, economic supply and demand. Demand's certainly gone up, but supply of some of the more recent Guernseys has gone up as well. So
Yeah, I think I've noticed more than any other club, the Hawks players, I guess, seem to be, I guess, I don't know if they're giving out these jumpers to Instagram people, Instagram messages, whereas they're having a lot of jumpers out there from their own personal collections, and they're kind of just not flooding the place because it's not really, there's not that many really when you look at
No.
it in the broader scope. But do you reckon that helps or hinders the collecting world, the hobby, having players more willing to, I guess, sell their own personal collection jumpers? But especially when you
Yeah.
got those Anzac jumpers, or just in general the
Mm.
auction jumpers, and there's a lot. There seems to be a lot of it happening at the moment.
Yeah, well, in the short term, I think it's a hindrance that people may be not willing to bid as much next year and things like that. So that has an impact on the club,
Mm.
potentially. So, yeah, I mean, it's a catch-22. If they're out there, it makes it easier to get, so people can fill gaps and things like that. But at the same time, if you've got a COA saying one of one, and there's two or three out there, then that has an impact. For me, it doesn't really have an impact because I buy them, and they're in the collection. So
Mm.
by the time, touch wood, I'm around for a long time. By the time I'm not around, then that they will have appreciated for sure. But if you're someone that's buying for the purpose of flipping them,
Mm.
then you're probably going to get your fingers burnt a little bit. So
Yeah, so when I do the auctions, when I purchase off auctions, when I bid, rather, that's the word I'm looking for.
yes,
I certainly don't think about what could potentially come out in future because,
yeah,
like for instance, Frio auctions this year they've been going pretty
yeah.
crazy. I think I spent 17 or about $1,700. Can't remember now. On, I don't know if you can see it in the back, um, behind my head actually,
Oh yes,
long
long
sleeve
sleeve. Yes,
retro Michael Frederick. I spent about $1,700 on that. But I do know that at the sale there will be some
mm,
retro jumpers as well, potentially long sleeves. Don't know how many will be. But I'm not going into that auction thinking, oh, I'm not going to buy one of the better ones because I can potentially get one later.
yeah,
Because I just want to get my hands on the best one that I can
mm,
possibly get for my amount, for my money that I can afford anyway, right now, so I can have it in my hands. And then if I miss out at the sale, I'm fine.
yeah.
So it's interesting that some people's thought process goes the other way, where they could be seriously disappointed come that sale time. So I don't know. For me, I get too anxious, I guess, when it comes to the auctions and the sales and not wanting to be left behind, I suppose. So
I think that's what happened with that Bruce Anzac. You know what I mean? Like the prices were just going up and up, and he was probably the last um, A grade player that was to come through. So
mm,
you had multiple people bidding for it, and the price went through the roof. I've got a situation of that happened relatively early in my collecting career. So 2010, Hawthorn wore a Kokoda Guernsey for the first time.
Kokoda.
And I think I shared the story before when I was here last time that Ben Stratton, I met him the day that my youngest son was born,
Mm,
and then we were at his debut, and he came up into the stands and held my son and things like that. So when the Kokoda Guernsey came out, we thought it was going to be the like a one-off Guernsey, and I think I paid like $1,300 or $1,400 for this one back in 2010, which was huge considering at that point in time, generally you could go on a waiting list with the club and with members discount pick up Guernseys for $239. So I learned a little bit, from that experience.
mm.
Loved the Guernsey. He became captain and all those sort of things, premiership player. But I mean, not to get too caught up in the hype. Like some of the auctions, I tend to wait until the last day and things like that before I bid, because otherwise, all you're doing is pushing up the price.
I
So
do the exact same thing. Yeah.
yeah, so that's one that special, and there's a story behind it, but the price I paid for it was quite significant at the at the time.
Yeah, that is a pretty significant price for something back then. I
Mm.
can't really.
Well, I think he actually got a couple of Brownlow votes from the game. He played on Adam Goods, absolutely towed him up.
Mm.
So you know,
It certainly helps.
it does, yeah.
All right, what else we got? So we got quite a few jumpers to get through here. So, and I think we've been going for a little while. 25 minutes ain't bad. And I think I was going to try and keep the cave sessions episodes to around 25 to 30 minutes each. So we're already blowing that out the water the very first one. So
So the first one here is the illustrious Blue Diamond Guernsey. This was Ray Jenkins, one. So that's a very unique Guernsey that Hawthorn wore in the pre-season in 1995 in Canberra. It was worn once. We got beaten by Sydney, and that was it. So, but a very very rare Guernsey. There were 2 sets made. Majority of them were destroyed. So yeah, one that I've had many offers, significant offers. But yeah,
they reproduced them as well, did they not, for a point of time?
yeah, they did. It would have been probably the mid 2000s. The Hawks Museum did a run of some of the heritage Guernseys, and the Blue Diamond one. The key difference is the AFL logo isn't the AFL logo. It's an abridged sort of version, and
Mm.
yeah, obviously no sublimated player numbers and things like that. I have seen one posted with a sewn-on number that someone had cheekily cut off the manufacturer's tag and sewn on a Puma tag from another Guernsey and tried to pass it on as a legitimate one. So, um, but yeah, I'm pleased to have that one in the collection. This one,
Actually, before you jump ahead, query. So that's sublimated, right? The number.
yes,
I don't know if I've seen pre-95 jumpers sublimated. Is that one of the first ones to ever have a sublimated number on it?
I'm trying to think back to other earlier ones in my collection. Let's just have a quick look. Some people that have listened to me before might remember Erin saying I'd have an Instagram page up shortly, and I was saying, no, that's probably not for me. I relented during COVID and put one up. Hawthorn _Guernsey _collection is my Instagram page.
One more time for the people at home.
Hawthorn _Guernsey _collection. You can find it on Instagram. And I've
Beautiful.
also got on Facebook the same name is me as well. Just yeah, looking at my collection there, 93 that I've got was sewn on. I don't have a 94, so
Yeah.
I think it may actually. You might be right. It might be the first year of the sublimated numbers.
So that'll be very interesting for everybody out there at home in YouTube land. Let us know if you have anything pre-95 or the pre-season 95 with a sublimated number, because we'd really like to know, I reckon.
hmm.
And I was looking at the camera and I did not once put the camera on myself, so that's pretty stupid.
The second one that I've brought along out of the collection is a little bit bittersweet. It's a 1996 preseason Guernsey of Paul Deers. Paul unfortunately recently passed from pancreatic cancer,
Wow.
and I'd always had the hope that I'd get the opportunity to meet him to finally get it signed. He was the 1991 Norm Smith medalist. Fantastic, relatively short career that he had with the Hawks, but yeah, that's one that I always hoped that I'd get the opportunity, but never did, unfortunately.
It's a fantastic looking jumbo. Chuck the Centenary logo up nice and close to the camera, I reckon, because that looks really cool.
That's sublimated as well.
So if anyone hasn't seen it, there it is up nice and close. Super cool. Love how vibrant and bright it is. Helps that we've got the ring light on it, but does look really nice. The colors on that jumper itself just look really vibrant and beautiful.
They're quite yellow compared to the latter, more gold color. Which actually the next one.
Oh,
There we go. Is
here we go.
a 2001 Shane Crawford.
The Croft.
So I really like this one. You can notice there the how dirty it is. So
Certainly can.
Hawthorn used to sell these on their Hawks Nest website as dirty Guernseys. So you could basically go on a waiting list for a player's Guernsey. So that was one I obviously bought in the secondary market. That was acquired before I'd started collecting. But yeah, one that it's always nice to have a Brownlow medalist, Guernsey in your collection.
Do you remember how much you paid for it?
I ooh, I did it the other day, but it's gone out of my head. So yeah, and I haven't got it on my phone. It's on my computer. So
What would be nuts is you'd think to back to what you paid for it.
yeah,
Now would be probably tenfold that, right?
possibly not tenfold, but yeah, at least 5 to 8-fold. I think I paid up a little bit for it. But yeah, certainly a bargain in retrospect.
Mm.
But I should have bought my spreadsheet. But then again, I don't want people hitting me up going, "Oh, I heard you paid $400 or whatever. I'll give you 401."
And that definitely happens
It
too.
does. As I said earlier, I've been hit up recently by so many new collectors. I don't know whether they're testing me, thinking, "Oh, he's an old bloke that won't know what he's got, and I can offer him, something, and he'll take it."
Mm.
Lots of tire kickers still floating around. So, but as I said, once things are in the collection, effectively they stay there unless I'm able to upgrade or get something that's well, recently I had a Campbell Brown Heritage Guernsey,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd had that for a very, very long time, and I got the opportunity to buy quite a number of Guernseys off Trent Crowd,
Mm.
and his we'll skip forward. I'm gonna always come back if we've
There
got time.
was a nice little.
I gave you the tip too, didn't I?
He did give me a very nice little tip for a Trent Crowd, and there happens to be one in the cabinet right behind his head. So appreciate that.
So 2007 Heritage Guernsey. Look how filthy that is. That is the filthiest Guernsey in my collection. So
That's tremendous.
Campbell Brown, I love, but when I saw that Guernsey, a mate of mine bought the brown off me, and I kept the Crowd there in the collection.
As you would. I mean, it's funny actually because the Blues, Carlton did an auction this year at the start of the year, and all I saw was everyone was really upset that how dirty they were and filthy they were. Most of them because they were going moldy and they had mold spots. So I can understand, but with that type of thing, if you get something like that and it is dirty or it's wet, it's gonna turn moldy. First thing you should do is put it straight out on the line. Don't wash it. Just put it straight on the line and just let it dry out, do its thing. Because if you keep it, um, put away,
Yeah,
fold it up, or in a bag or something like that, it's just gonna get worse and worse and worse.
yeah,
So best thing to do is do not wash it because they are amazing in that condition and just put it out and let it dry and do its thing. I mean, if a mold spot here or there pops up, so be it. But try and keep it like in its original condition, I reckon, because that
yeah,
if it turns out looking like your Crow there, then you've got to be happy with that.
yeah. Well, the ones from the club, they're taken off the players' back, hung up in the drying room at Waverley Park, and then it takes an extended period for COA to come these days. So,
Mm.
effectively they've had that drying out process if they're coming from the club. Some of the player ones, tend to be a little bit more hit and miss, how they've been treated after they've been received and that type of thing. But touch wood, all the collections in pretty good nick at this point.
So the Hawks actually have that idea already, where they take them off, they put them straight into a
Yeah,
drying room, and just keep them in pristine condition, essentially.
correct. Yeah. There were the Healing for Hillcrest that we'll get to a little bit later. They had a light wash cycle on them
Mm-hmm.
because I think they were still a little bit worried about COVID and everything like that. But up until that
Mm.
point, effectively, they'd all been off the players' back, hung, and then dispatched. So I don't know whether there was feeling slightly less worried about the COVID or the feedback that they got with the lightly wash cycle on the Hillcrest, but the remainder of the Guernseys for the year came out the traditional way from Hawthorn.
That's fantastic. Other clubs out there, please take some notes because that's what we want as collectors. We want it just like that. So well done, Hawthorn, for being all over that. I'll continue to try with Freo to try and get them to do the same thing. It's much better now. I think last year's sale, there was quite a few dirty ones. Clearly had been washed, but there was still some dirt marks on them. So getting to that point slowly. And I think they are also still worried about the hygiene factor. The retros were actually quite filthy still, but again, definitely had been washed.
Yeah, the ones that are generally coming out there now that have come from a player, they've got them at the end of the season and they've been washed.
Oh, yeah.
So they're not as dirty as some of the ones that have been, auctioned by the club during the year.
All right, what do we got next?
Next, and bear in mind, go to Hawthorn _Guernsey _collection to see the full collection. I've only bought a small percentage of the collection to bring today. This next one here is
It's blue and red, so it's not Hawks. What is it?
It doesn't look like a Hawthorn Guernsey, does it? It's Hawthorn's Heritage Guernsey from 2005, which was a throwback to I believe, a precursor to the Hawthorn Football Club of today, which started in 1902, I think it was. So this is one of the precursors. This one here actually is Ben Dixon's. I was lucky enough to catch up with Ben 2014 for the grand final. Fox put on like an event for Fox Footy subscribers and things like that I managed to get my way into, and was having to chat to Ben. He kicked 5 goals in this Guernsey. He said to me he reckons that was the best game he played for the club from a complete game. He actually tried to buy it from me at the event. I said, I haven't got another. If I had another one, then possibly. But yeah, that's some of these, trade, well over the $1,500 mark. Even lesser players. So, Dicko, I don't know what that would trade for today, but it's not leaving the collection. So
fair enough. It's funny actually. I think I saw back when it wasn't so nuts. There was a number 3 on eBay.
Okay.
For a long time.
Yeah.
It'd been up there for probably at least 8, 9, 10 months, probably even longer than that. And they only wanted about $400, and it sat there for a long, long time. So it's crazy how far it has come in that short period of time, and how these crazy designs sometimes, these cult designs, I guess you'd call them, they are what's in the money nowadays.
Yeah, like that probably would have been a John Hay, I'd suggest, 2005. Oh, no, he might have been gone by then. It wouldn't have been a Lewis. 05 was his first year, and I think Buddy was 38. Ruffy was, I'm not quite sure whose it was.
The good thing is we have the power of Google.
We do. So while you look that up, I'll get the next Guernsey prepared, which happens to be a 2011. 2006. I've jumped ahead. I've seen the player and thought it was a different one of his.
Getting ahead of himself.
So last time you asked me, Erin, what was the first Guernsey you ever had in your collection?
And he couldn't remember.
I could not remember for the life of me. I scratched my head. I looked at my spreadsheet with it being the audio podcast, and I couldn't remember. But it was this 2006 Luke Hodge versus Geelong. So a very nice one to have in the collection. Very dirty as well. That you can see some significant marks of wear, COA. So yeah, that's a very nice one to have in the collection, and
he's never changed his signature, really, has he? It's always been pretty similar.
Yeah, it's well, actually, he signed the front of it only about 3 or 4 years ago. It was only signed on the rear originally, so it has changed.
So he's changed it quite a bit in recent times for sure. Yeah,
it's quite extended at that point in time. How are we going on the Google machine?
I'm very slow, so I'm problem is I'm intrigued about your jumper, so I've gotten nowhere on AFLtables.com at the moment, but I'm getting there. Almost there.
All right, on to the next one, which is quite a special Guernsey. This was actually worn in the 2008 qualifying final against the Western Bulldogs by current Hawthorn coach Sam Mitchell, who happened to be the captain that season. So to have a match-worn premiership season from the finals by the captain, that's one of the Guernseys I have that in that sort of top 10 sort of category of mine.
I really love the watermarks. Like they're super pronounced on that jumper,
They are.
but they look super cool. And the dirt is where it's at as well. It's hard to see. Like you can see it on the camera. Don't worry about that. You can certainly see all the dirt, but it is actually filthier in person than what you can quite see.
It's actually dirtier than I remember.
It is beautiful. It's amazing that we talk about dirt as a beautiful thing, but it is. It's gorgeous. So did you say that was an 05?
05 Heritage, yes.
So you're correct. It was Jonathan Hay.
Right, yeah.
It was his last season at the Hawks. Played 20 games, so potentially even that game as well before he shipped off to North Melbourne for a year.
Hmm.
So there you go.
There you go.
All right. So thank you, Google. What do we got next?
So we're now up to 2009, which is the first year Hawthorn had the. Am I too close or?
No, you're good.
Right, the gold premiership logo being the reigning premiers from 2008. And this Guernsey is quite dirty as well, as you can see. And it's quite a special one to me because it's my one and only Cyril Rioli.
Your one and only
My
Cyril.
one and only Cyril Rioli. For some reason, very difficult to find a Cyril Rioli. Like even, I don't know if it's the signature.
Yeah, good.
You can
Looks
see that.
good.
Like even in the 2014 year, I was helping some of the players syndicate some of their boots and things like that to raise money for their footy trip. And I was meant to be getting some Cyril stuff from that. And in the time between when it was arranged and when it was all collected, all Cyril stuff was no longer there. And I believe he used to send a lot of the stuff back to the community in the NT and give it to family members and things like that. So other than ones that were released by the club, there's not too many Cyrils that are out there. So
Fair enough. All right, what do we got next?
Somebody that's grand final bound this weekend.
Oh.
And similarly, a one and only. This is a 2010. I think born against Western Bulldogs once again. Lance Franklin. Buddy.
Oh, the bud.
Yeah. So unfortunately, I've only got the one, but it's
This one's for sale for 15 grand, by the way.
oh no, 15,001. If you're those that are following along, there was a little bit of a sort of in joke about not for sale, meaning offers of 15,000 or over. Someone that was chasing a Sydney Lance Franklin Guernsey for a long time. So
yeah, so don't do that.
Those who know.
They do, and don't do that. Don't chase a specific jumper and beg people for one, and try every avenue to get one. And then when someone helps you out, and potentially didn't want to help you out, but thought they would because you're so desperate for one, then turn around and say for sale or for trade. And put up for 15 grand. I mean, come on, right? You're just asking for trouble, really.
And another warning, I guess, or a public service announcement. Don't approach people via Instagram and ask them if something's available, and then you find out from someone else going, "Are you selling this?" People are trying to on-sell a Guernsey from you before they actually even own it, or even have got an agreement that you're willing to sell it. That's not good form, guys. You get a very, very bad reputation doing stuff like that because it's a larger community than it was, but it's still quite a tight community that people know who's who with different clubs. So
100%, and reputation is what this hobby is really about. And if you go and ruin yours, you're in strife because
100%.
people aren't going to want to deal with you. Players aren't going to want to deal with you. Clubs don't want to deal with you. That you've ruined your chances of getting some really good stuff. So if you do the right thing, look after people. People it'll come back. And
in spades, spades. So I've certainly given leads to people and things like that, and they've looked out for me, and it's one big happy community with the majority of us.
100. Well, yeah, the majority of us definitely. There's some great ones out there. There's some pain in the asses out there, but I think you'll find they're on my block list. So, all right, Brett, what have we got next? I think we're about halfway through now. I reckon
a little bit over half, actually. This is a 2011, which was celebrating the 5 decades of flags that Hawthorn had won a premiership every decade from 1960s all the way through the 2010s. So, the current list, we've got to win one over the next, 6 or 7 seasons to keep that streak alive. This is actually Luke Hodges once again from the St Kilda game, and some people may have seen some commentary recently that someone else was trying to sell a Luke Hodge from the same St Kilda game. So we've obviously got one from a different half. In the COA's, mine and theirs is legit. Brett Ibbott signed it, who was the merch guy at that point in time. They've got different reference numbers and things like that. But until I saw that, I didn't realise that 2011 they were selling multiples from a game. But it's always nice to have a premiership captain's Guernsey, and
For
I've
sure.
got a few Hodgies, thankfully.
It's funny how people saw that, and the first instinct is, "Oh, there must be a fake. One of them must be a fake." Like that's their first instinct and their first thought. There are obviously the people out there in the hobby that's a little bit more experienced that, okay, it's the first half, the second half jumper. That's pretty cool. But for you, what does that feel like for you? Does that devalue your jumper in your own mind? I'm sure it doesn't as the actual value of it, but does it hurt at all?
I initially did because I'm like, oh, damn. I thought, I don't think the COA said 101, one of one.
Yep.
But you have that feeling that it's a one of one. It's from a specific game and things like that. So initially it's like, oh damn. So I saw it listed and went, oh sure, mine's from the St Kilda game. Went and checked my COA and things like that. As I said, from a value perspective, probably hurts it a little bit, but multiple Norm Smith medalist, multiple premiership winning captain, good bloke. I don't think it affects the value in the secondary market. Mine's definitely not for sale. The other one is for sale on one of the pages at the minute. I think last I saw it's about $1,000, which I think is probably pretty cheap for a Hodge.
It is pretty cheap for a Hodgie, really. Yeah.
So
jump on that.
I would have thought their original asking. I think their original asking price might have been $1,650. I was thinking around about the 1,500 mark was probably where it was at for a Hodgie at the minute, considering one of the memorabilia companies in Melbourne sold a bunch of Hodgie stuff, and some of them went for over $3,000 a Guernsey and things like that. Some of his personal collections. So I think I'd rather a club issued COA version compared to a memorabilia company, but that's me.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's been quite a few people that weren't too sure about that auction house or the memorabilia house, so I think I'd rather one directly from the club myself. Obviously, if you get it from the player, it's fantastic.
Indeed.
But for myself, I'd rather. Yeah, the club auction, club COAs is usually a pretty good. I prefer the club COA to AFLPA COA just because they're doing it in house. They know exactly where it is or where it's come from, whereas it goes off to wherever it is. That's what SE products goes off to them, and then they authenticate it. Anything could happen in that time, and it has happened plenty of times before where it turns out it's not what it is when it comes back.
I don't even think the Guernsey goes off to SE products. A list or something is sent by the club, and they produce them for a fee.
Well, that's scary, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. There's a story we could go into there with the Guernsey that I was meant to be getting, but we might. Oh, we'll see. We're going for time. The next one I have here is a 2013 Clash Guernsey, so away Guernsey. First time Hawthorn wore it, and this one happens to be Sam Mitchell. I think it was against Port Adelaide, and I happened to be at that game, so it was nice to add another one of his, particularly with this this style to the collection.
I really quite like the color scheme of the away jumper, and I really like the logo at the back as well, on the bottom as well.
Got the heritage Hawthorn monogram.
Super cool. Right, so we're on to the next one. We are definitely winding him through, that's for sure. But he did bring a few of them.
I think I bought 23, and I'm leaving with 24. So there you go. This one here is a celebration of Hawthorn's 25th anniversary of the 88 and 89 back-to-back premierships, which I think it was. Remind me, was it round 4, 2014?
Round 5.
Round 5. This is Luke Bruce match worn, Guernsey from that game, which, as you might remember from earlier on, I've got his 13, 14, and 15 grand final Guernsey.
Yes, continue to remind me of that one, actually.
So that's a nice one. The only time we've had the names on the back. So,
But when people say that they got rid of it because they made the numbers and the names too small and you couldn't read them anyway. But looking at that up close, it's perfectly large enough for me. And I've got 26 or 27 Freo ones. And to me, they were fantastic. I would have loved it to stay around, to be honest.
yeah, it won't come back now with post COVID the above number sponsor. They've obviously sold off that part of the Guernsey now, so
Yeah.
it's hard to see them walking away from that revenue going forward.
Sadly, yeah, I think you're right there. And I haven't thought of that in previous, and now I'm actually really disappointed.
The next one happens to be another Luke Bruce Guernsey. This was the 2015 Indigenous Guernsey, which has the unique characteristic of being from his 100th game.
Aye.
So that's why I brought that one along to share with the viewers today. Quite a nice Indigenous design with all of the Indigenous players from Hawthorn that had represented the club over the years. So
And on the AFL logo, it's got a little something special too.
it's got another gold logo.
Not just that, it also
Back to
says
back.
back to back on it, which is pretty cool.
Which surprisingly, the previous one I shared, which also should have had the back to back, should have had Premiers 2013 on it. They went with the standard red logo because they were produced the name round prior to the grand final.
True.
Being
There you go. Didn't know that, so that's interesting to know.
yes.
So we're flying through them now. Here we go. Here's another one.
This one's from 2016, so it's got the 2013, 2014, 2015 gold Premier logo. This is James Sicily when he was wearing the 21. He made his debut, I think, round 3, 2005. This was, it might have been round 4. This is round 3, 2006. Kicked 3 goals.
2006, is it? Jeez, he's been around a while.
Yeah.
2016, you mean, maybe?
16, sorry. There you go, Freudian slip. So that was a nice one. 3 goals. Obviously now known more as a dashing defender type, but started his career as a key forward prospect. So.
And he's number 6 now, right?
Correct. Yes, we had one earlier, and actually got another one to come.
Ah, we do indeed. Looking forward to that, actually. And I'm looking forward to this next one, which you'll see very briefly.
Yes. So this was the 3rd iteration of the Pink Ribbon anti-cancer, Cancer Council Pink Ribbon game. Jack Gunston's worn down in Tasmania. I think it might have been against Gold Coast from memory. The first iteration was basically the brown back Guernsey with the the brown stripes on this one being pink, and then the following 2 seasons they changed it to be they reversed the color scheme.
Yeah, I had that original one, and it was Sean Burgoyne, which was great. But the yellow numbers and the brown back it looked
just
weird.
Yeah, I got Brad Hills from that year, and then the following season I got Ben Strattons, who was obviously captain that year. Not that year, future year. This one here, 2018 home Guernsey that many will go, why has he bought that as a special Guernsey? It wasn't a memorable season for Hawthorn or anything. Why has he got it? It's Tom Mitchell's.
Tommy Mitchell.
Brownlow medalist that season. So nice, dirty Guernsey from a Brownlow winning season. And unfortunately looks like he might be on his way, which...
yeah, right. So there's another, before you throw that away, the top of that jumper there. So this is another little feature that the Hawks have done, which I quite like, which it often gets overlooked. So this is really cool. It's got the name and the player number. So that's when they come in, right? Debut.
The debut number. So he was the 910th Hawthorn player to debut.
Right. So it's not like the number of when they were or when they came in as the draft pick or anything like that. It's when they actually debuted.
Yeah.
Very cool. So when they're capped, essentially. Yeah, very nice. Like that. But I like the little features that the Hawks have been doing. They've done quite a few, and I think they did one with Luke Hodges. I think that's where it started when they started doing that.
We've got another one coming up here. Player 872, Luke Bruce.
872.
So this one here, you might be able to see, has got the emergency services. So that's the first time that we wore, I think it was against Collingwood. Yep, Collingwood in 2019. Key reason I bought this one is you might remember I showed you his 100th game Guernsey earlier.
Indeed.
This was his 200th.
Crazy.
And actually caught up with him at the team hotel the following season because he'd only signed one side of the Guernsey. Actually, it might have been later that year, towards the end of that year. And he said he wore the one Guernsey for the whole game. So
Wow.
it is a one of one 200th game Guernsey, unlike a one of five or four or five Ben McAvoy 250th that went for $4,000 just recently. So very happy to have that in the collection. And
or a one of 9 Andrew Sean Burgoyne last game jumper.
And I, did everything in my power to try and get his 250th game Guernsey to add in the collection. A mate of mine's got his 150th, but the club didn't know what had happened with it.
Oh.
I messaged him and he said, "Well, I've got the second half. The club's got the first half. Try and get it."
They've lost it.
What I believe may have happened, it may have got washed and reused.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Devastating.
And actually, we're on to the last Guernsey.
We're on to the last one. Look out. All right.
Oh, sorry. No. We've got two more.
We have 2 more. Okay. Getting ahead of ourselves now. 2 to go. What do we got?
2 to go. This one here, healing for Hillcrest in the pre-season when Hawthorn played Richmond. Have I got the heat press on there?
What do you?
This one here, Hawthorn's leading Brownlow vote getter this year, Jai Newcomb. Absolute jet, you know what I mean? Like, he looks like someone that's played 200 games already, you know what I mean? Like, love the way he goes at it and things like that.
Well, same amount of votes as Dacos, right? So you must be the same player.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Rising Star Dacos got lots of mentions about it. We may have touched on this earlier or
Yeah.
might have been off air saying that.
I think we did actually, yeah.
That was an interesting one. But the interesting thing about that is I'm actually mates with Jai's uncle here in Perth.
Okay.
And we worked out that I would have played footy against Jai's dad because we both, grew up in country Victoria. So
Yeah, right.
that's weird to think that, someone I've played against is now running around the brown gold. So
yeah, that's pretty crazy. Yeah. Okay, so this next one is pretty special.
It's got a bit of a story.
Oh my! Doesn't ever have a story. We'll start off showing it because it is pretty special. It's lovely, and you can explain why it is so special because a lot of people won't understand why. I can't say too much without showing it, so we'll just show it. Here we go.
All right. So here we go. This one's a little bit different from the others because it's got sleeves.
Yeah, so.
And it is James Sicily's from round 23, where he got 2 Brownlow votes last night. I guess the real significance behind this Guernsey is I won Chad Wingard's emergency services auction, which
Strap in.
looked like it was a long sleeve Guernsey. It was his match worn Guernsey, and so I bid quite heavily for it relative to the other emergency services ones.
Awesome,
and
yeah.
A couple of months later, a box arrived, and there was a short sleeve emergency Guernsey, and it was a heartbreaking moment, to be honest, because those that may not be aware, Clarko was not a fan of long sleeves, so North collectors, get whatever long sleeve you can get.
There'll be too many out there now.
Yeah. So, after numerous back and forwards with the club and having to elevate things to very senior levels within the club, which, to their credit, once it got escalated to the right party, we came to a resolution pretty quickly. But senior members of the football club, I believe, spoke to James Sicily at a sponsors night and explained the situation to him about the what had happened, and he offered to wear fresh Guernsey for round 23 in long sleeve for me. So
That
certainly,
is nuts.
yeah, super cool story. To go with that. What started as a bit of a uh, disappointing situation ended up being quite a positive.
Mm,
Um, yeah, so certainly showing all the traits of a full-time leader to take over from Ben McAvoy
mm.
next year. So I'm really pleased to have that in the collection. This is the first long sleeve that's been released in the wild, so to speak, since pre 2008. Mark Williams, I think 2005, 2006, there was a match worn floating around. There's some others prototypes that are around, but this is the first physical long sleeve match worn Guernsey that the Hawks have had for 16 or 17 years out there. So not even at the $15,000 mark. This is coming out of the collection. This is definitely not for sale. So it's yeah, it will be up to my boys to fight over which one of them get this when the time comes.
It's gorgeous. And I think the story that goes along with it makes it even better. It was a ride, and I'm glad you kept me along for that ride as well because it was entertaining. But I could just feel your frustration coming through, and I would have felt exactly the same. So I'm glad that something really good came out of it. That's for sure.
Yeah, so I actually feel like I've come out in front in the end from what was originally looking like it was going to be you know wait to next year and we'll give you a long sleeve, which I feel like they probably might be dime a dozen
Uh,
next year, and they're going to be a different manufacturer and
yes.
all those things. So I was very keen to have an Adidas one, and it's nice to know that yeah, it's the only one out there, unless one of the boys decide to sell it in the secondary market at a future date. He's wore a few Wingard. Well, I think the biggest problem with Wingard is that he may have only worn the one Guernsey, long sleeve Guernsey, for the whole year. And then when it came to his milestone and it was the emergency services, they heat pressed the emergency services on it. And, you know, I don't know whether he wasn't aware that it was been auctioned or whatnot, but he refused to hand it over.
Mm,
Uh,
sad. It's understandable, but sucks for a collector.
yeah, but as I've shown there, I've got Bruce hundredths and 200ths. 200ths is a one out. So, some clubs, the milestone, like round 23, Mitch Lewis wore a long sleeve as well. That was his 50th game. So
Mm,
50th doesn't have the same gravitas as
mm.
200, 250, 300, etc. But I imagine he'll keep that as a milestone. And Tom Phillips sat on the sub bench for the game, so didn't see a second of in match action.
Mm. So, but however, if you can try and keep in contact with Chad, there's a fair chance that in the future, once he's hit 250, 300, that he won't care about the 200 anymore, right? So, you're a chance in future of picking it up. Oh, I've lost my mic.
Maybe you never know what may happen. Hopefully next year, if he's still at the Hawks, when they come across, we can have a chat and a laugh about it and whatnot. But it was pleasing. In this situation, actually had a player that was willing to go and have a conversation with him and others about it to try and
Mm.
get it resolved for me. But it was an interesting journey and one I hope never to go through again. I've offered to the club my services because some of the auctions this year have been challenging
Mm.
with some descriptions and
Mhm.
pardon me, things like that. So I've actually offered to the club early today that if they're wanting to have a working party or offer my feedback, be
Mm.
involved to try and make it easier and cleaner for everyone going forward.
It's a good idea. I think I've offered my services God knows how many times just because, you know, we are obsessed with these things, these pieces of material. We're obsessed with them. So we know a lot about them because we research the hell
Mm,
out of them. A lot of these clubs don't do that.
mm,
They just grab it and say, oh, this is what it's from and move on. So the research doesn't quite go in, the love and the passion doesn't go in that we have.
yeah,
So I think the best people to ask questions about these things are these major collectors from each club. So
yeah.
if the clubs could do that, it would be great for them, not
Indeed.
just the collectors.
And I think, with COVID, with all the challenges around staffing and people being stood down and whatnot, there's probably been a bit of brain drain at some of the clubs. So yeah, I definitely, believe that us as collectors, probably know, yeah,
Well,
most.
there's a lot of people, like say with COVID,
Mm,
a lot of people got let go, So there's a lot of people throughout the clubs who are doing multiple different, I guess, jobs,
Yeah.
roles. So they're taking on, head of memberships, and
Yeah.
they're also doing
Merch
these
and
merch and things. So it can certainly, I can understand why maybe some things like this get overlooked, but please don't, for our sakes.
Yeah, but for everybody, there was a happy ending to to the story, and the final piece of the puzzle of the resolution actually arrived today. They also sent me across Mitch Lewis's Legends Guernsey that I've only posted a couple of hours ago. So
Mm.
to Hawthorn _ Guernsey _ collection.
On Instagram and Facebook. I will sign it off with. I actually picked up a Hawks jumper myself in the last week, I guess. So I'm just going to add to it because I have one myself now that I quite like, and it's very similar to one of the ones that you just put up. So also emergency services and also Tom Mitchell. So pretty happy with that. I believe it's my first ever Tom Mitchell. I could be wrong. I may have had one before. I think I did actually. I might have had a Power Ranger.
Oh, okay.
Is which odd. No, that would
Oh,
have
it would have been
been
Jordan
Jordan
Lewis.
Lewis. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I had Jordan Lewis. So don't know if I've had a Tom Mitchell before, but there you go. Now I do. I'm happy. So before we go, I got to ask you about the material. So
Yes.
I noticed when I got that, it's very, very different to the last
Indeed.
few years. What are your thoughts on the? Well, I would say new material because it's going to be different again next year, isn't it?
Yes.
But what's your thoughts on the current Adidas?
Um, ooh, those at home may see that I'm wearing some Adidas Hawthorn gear today. I think since they decided that the contract was coming to an end, they've probably phoned it in a little bit from a supporter merch perspective. It feels in some ways that they've just got standard gear and then they've just screen printed or whatever a logo. In regards to the tech of the Guernsey, I think it's still pretty good. Some of the players have mentioned that the moisture wicking and things like that significantly better than what they used to be, and
Okay.
working through some of the Guernseys, you can feel the thickness and the material change quite a bit, and
Mm.
it's certainly as we understand going to be quite different next year. So,
Mm.
but yeah, I think Adidas' first year was 2013, which was the start of the three-peat. So they timed their entry pretty well.
Mm.
Would have been nice if we were going back to Puma, which was the long-time manufacturer, but my understanding is that's not the case. So I'm sure the club will announce in due course the new supplier.
Hopefully very soon because there's plenty of rumors out there, and I do know, so I'm
Yes.
excited to hear from it as well. But um, what is your favorite material out of the ones that you have? So these are your favorite jumpers, right? So it must be because you wouldn't have bought them. What is the one in there that you reckon is your favorite material wise in the collection that you bought with you?
That's asking, that's like asking me which one of my kids I like better. Like they're all.
I'm not asking your favorite
Oh,
jumper, but
okay.
your favorite material out
Actually,
of that.
actually like the material, which is actually on both of these Guernseys, the Gunston and the Mitchell. So 2018, 17, 18, I think we had the same material.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite lightweight and strong. So um, you can feel from a weight perspective that it's significantly lighter than some of the Guernseys. And I actually don't remember that any that sort of ripped during this period. So it must have had some quite strong
Mm.
properties in it as well. It's kind of like a interesting sort of weave.
Yeah, I was gonna say it feels like it's woven,
Yeah,
which is obviously it's not, but that's the way it certainly feels that way.
yeah. So that's quite nice. But after receiving the Sicily and the sleeves, that's hard to go past. That as well. Yeah, that's not something that I've thought deeply about. I just like to have as many as possible of the unique ones from year to year, and well along the track of ticking all those boxes.
Of course. Fair enough too. So I'm going to leave this with one last question, and it's something I always ask on the audio version of the podcast, and don't really usually get an answer that's solid.
Yes.
Do you have a number one favorite?
of my current collection.
Your current collection. Well, no, it doesn't have to be your current collection.
Okay.
But is there a number one favorite jumper?
Well, it's really hard to go past the grand final Guernsey. You know what I mean? Like the uniqueness of them being the pinnacle of the calendar. So pretty much any of my, well, I won't say any of my grand final Guernseys, any of my winning grand final Guernseys.
You can't pick a favorite out of 13, 14, 15?
Well, I was at 13 and 14. I think I shared the story last time I was on that 15, I ended up being in America and bidding in the middle of the night for the 15.
Oh, that's right,
the
yeah.
Roost, Guernsey. So it would probably be 13 or 14. What was the year that Burgoyne? That was 13 against Geelong. So I think 13. Yeah, I went to all the finals. Actually, 13 and 14, I went to all the finals. But I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? In the latest Hawthorn history book, that photo of Burgoyne running to the crowd. Here I am on his page within that collection from that qualifying final, I think it was, or was it the prelim? So
That's
yes,
your Daniel Williams claim to fame, really, isn't it?
Daniel Williams.
West Coast Eagles, Michael O'Loughlin.
Oh, no. Yeah, maybe. I think yeah, that pops up from time to time. You know,
Yeah.
when Burgoyne was retiring and things like that, they had large core flutes of it. You know, different moments of his career, and that was one of them. And things like that. So yeah, I reckon 2013 grand final Guernsey, the first one I've got of Bruce.
We got an answer. I can't believe that. That's good that we had to work our way around it to get there. I'm cool with that. It's not just a random thought off the top of the head. So no, that was good. I lost my mic again. I swear this mic is going to be the death of me, but it's all right. We're nearly there anyway. Actually, at the top of your head there, the top left corner, there's a game ball from that day. So
Gee whiz, that might end up in the suitcase.
yeah, it was a sad day for us here at Freo, but it's still great to have it. And I say any grand final jumper is obviously one of the pinnacles of the collection. So
yeah, I know how you feel. You know, 2012, I was quite flat. You know, I felt really positive going in against the Sydney Swans, and yeah, I mean, it was a tussle all day. So I know the feeling.
it's amazing to me though. However, 2008 you guys won.
Yep.
So I often wonder. I think it was this year actually. So in the semi final when Melbourne lost, there was a lady in the crowd just bawling that they had just lost the game, and they won last year. So my thought process was, lady, you won last year. Calm down, sit down, and have a think about it.
She probably wasn't there though.
Yeah, so I did think about that.
You and I were there.
We were. So yeah, my thought process is you've just won one, or like yourself, you had won one 5 years earlier. You reckon it stings just as much, or not quite as much because you had that taste of success only 4 or 5 years earlier?
I know they sting, particularly when you went in as favourites and things like that. And you know, seeing I'd come over from Perth, the 2012, the club actually got me to do quite a bit of media. I was on the Today Show, and I was on, what else was on? ABC interviewed me on the radio and things like that. So
Right.
I'd had a little bit of, I guess, media presence that week. So I was up and about, and I had a few people going, "Oh, I saw you on the Today Show," and things like that. Were you still confident? Yeah. So yeah, it stung because I was pretty upbeat about it. But interesting enough, 13 and 14, I was even more heavily involved. I helped make the banner. I went out and held the banner during those grand finals, and I was over there for a prelim, stayed the week, and did a whole bunch of stuff like the Fox Footy parties and things like that. So yeah, they're great times. If you ever get the opportunity, you know. But saying that, last year as a neutral, I actually ended up sitting about 8-10 rows back, right in the middle of the Melbourne cheer squad. So I wore a grey hoodie, and it was quite interesting that when they're holding up the cup and things, here's me with the grey hoodie right behind them. Over the three-peat years, I'm there right on Hodgie's shoulder when they're held up the cup and things like that. So it's weird when you in some ways it feels like it's so long ago, but in other ways it feels like it was almost yesterday. So, but yeah, they're fabulous. Like grand finals, and it's getting together. Unfortunately, this year I'm going to miss the grand final. I'm going to be somewhere between Singapore and Tokyo as the final siren goes.
Oh, wow. So you're not even going to be able to watch it, really? Or have you tried to work out a way you can? Or
Well, it's not on KO. It's not on, I don't think it's on 7 Plus.
It's on 7 Plus. So I've been trying to work this out because
Okay.
we've got the grand final party we're having here in the cave on Saturday. Trying to work out how we can watch it because I don't have Channel 7 hooked up to everywhere. So I've been working it out. So you can watch it on 7 Plus, however, only on certain devices.
Okay.
So
iPhone?
iPhone, no. So no, I don't believe any phones.
Okay.
Could be wrong, but I don't think there's any phones. Only like PS5, PS4, Fetch Box. So just really random devices, LG TVs. So I have worked it out that I can have it in 3 locations.
Yeah.
Just got to move some devices around so it can have it playing everywhere.
Yeah, I was hoping that I was going to be able to connect to the internet, turn a VPN on, and watch it on 7 Plus. But yeah,
Surely potentially you get on the international AFL pass, right? And surely it'd be playing on that.
Possibly. Yeah. I'm not sure how quality the Wi-Fi will be on board. With Qantas it's pretty good, but I'm actually flying Japan Airlines from Singapore to Tokyo, so
Didn't even know there was Japan Airlines.
Yeah, JAL.
Okay.
The co-chair with Qantas. So, you might remember last time I was here, I was talking about how I enjoy basketball and things like that. I'm meant to be going to see Golden State Warriors play Washington Wizards in Tokyo. So,
oh wow!
And a good friend of mine is very good friends with the CEO of Rakuten,
who's
a major sponsor of Golden State.
Yep.
So I've got my fingers and toes crossed that I might get to meet Steph.
Oh, mate, that'd be huge. Yeah. I noticed you're wearing the Currys today as well.
Yeah, my Curry 9s. I think last time I had Curry 6s on. So, yeah, there you go. Coy Green last time. I remember they got a comment. So this time they're a little bit more subdued, the black and gold Curry 9s.
Very nice. All right, we're starting to ramble now. But how excited would it be if you could watch the grand final on a plane? I remember watching Freo versus North Melbourne in the middle of the sky somewhere in Vegas, I think. And that was one of the coolest things I've ever done. So if you were able to watch the grand final on the plane, I reckon that would be up there with one of the coolest things. So got to keep us posted on that.
Yeah, I'll see how I go.
All right, Brett. Well, thank you very much for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed the absolute shitfest we've had here with all the video equipment going on, but we've managed to get through it. Only had a couple of little hiccups with the cameras, so hopefully the editing process isn't too bad. And this will be out very shortly. It'll be episode number 2 of the K Sessions because we haven't filmed anything else yet.
Yes.
So this is the very first thing we've ever filmed. So myself and my host, which you'll know anyway. So my host Emma. Yes. Guest host, co-host, will be getting up episode 1 very shortly. So
fantastic.
This will be out not long after that.
Excellent.
So thank you for joining me.
Good to see you again. Cheers.
Thanks for bringing all your jumpers too.
No worries.
Thanks, steal your suitcase on the way out. Cheers. All right, there we go. Thank you very much to Brett Attrill for coming and joining us in the cave and filming something for the very first ever thing that we've ever had to film for the cave sessions. But for helping us test out the video and audio equipment for the show. And also giving us a great insight into his jumpers as well. That was very much appreciated to come in joining us for a couple of hours. Hopefully the interview wasn't too long. Make this show extremely long. But hopefully you enjoyed that. Hopefully Brett comes back again with some more great jumpers in another time. That's all we have today, except for our last segment for the day, which is In the Cave. What's in the cave?
In the cave.
I need to come up with something.
I need to get like a what's in the cave.
Yeah, I need to come up with some sort of fancy jingle or something to come up on the screen that's like Wheel of Fortune is all I'm thinking in my head, like, what's in the cave? Anyway, that was stupid. Anyway, so this is our last segment before we sign off for the day. It is What's in the Cave. And if you remember from last week, I can't believe I can actually say that. Remember from last week's episode, we went over to the wheel, spun her up, got a number out from all you lovely people that picked a number for no reason whatsoever that you knew of, and then read it out. And I think it was, what was it, 167 or something last
Yeah.
time. And it was Aiden Johnson. Hopefully he's actually watched the show. He hasn't said anything about his number
He
coming
gave
up.
up on us at this point.
But that's fair enough. But anyway, let's jump over to what's in the cave. All right, so there is our lovely wheel. Everybody's names are on there. I'm not going to go through and show you them all. You saw them all last week. But let's jump over and spin her up now, shall we? And pick out the jumper that Em is going to go and find. So I'm sure she's hoping for a nice low number.
Please number 3. Please be number 3.
Otherwise, she will be back in a while. We've just had dinner for about 20 odd minutes, so let's jump over, shall we? Let's spin her up. Good luck, everybody. I might just shuffle it. Why not? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here we go. This is the number that we're going to pick out of the cabinets and talk about for our last segment of the day. Number. Can't see it at the moment. It's hidden behind the number. I thought it said negative. It's number 45.
Well, it's not too bad. Can do.
Alex Scott picked number 45. So
Can do.
thank you to Alex. Emma's now going to get up. She's walking over to the cave and she's going to start rummaging through and counting 1 through 45. And she's going to pick out jumper number 45 and we're going to talk about it before we sign off. So we'll be back in just a moment. Bear with us. All right, she has found jumper number 45. I haven't actually seen what the back of it is yet, so I don't even... Okay, I know what it is now. And it's a very recent addition, as a matter of fact. I picked up this jumper only 2 weeks ago.
Oh, really?
I did, so...
There's actually some spare coat hangers in there, and I'm freaking searching for coat hangers all the time.
Shouldn't be any spare coat
Yeah, there
hangers.
is.
Shouldn't be.
You must have just taken jerseys off and got to pull the coat hangers out. But
Potentially.
anyway,
So
freaking coat hangers.
there are some behind me that I probably need to hang back up again. But anyway, here it is. Jumper number 45, picked out by Alex Scott. There it is. If you want to just go down a little bit. There you go. So this one, as I said, is a recent addition. Picked it up 2 weeks ago. I can't tell you, unfortunately, exactly where I got it from, but it was from a private sale. Myself and Jack Gregory, a legendary man, who also has Not Another Guernsey page. No, is that the same guy? Yeah, I think it is. Not Another Guernsey page on Instagram. Who, Em's just jumped ahead there. But number 15, which is a 2011 home jumper, by the way. Number 15, Ryan Crowley. And I've actually got a perfect photo match of that jumper. As you can see at the top corner of the GPS pocket there, you can see a white piece of fabric hanging out of the top. Made it super easy to photo match that jumper, as well as where the lines of the GPS pocket actually are. Really, really easy to find. You could tell it was match worn, not only from where I bought it from, the person that I actually bought it from, it was obvious that it was match worn, considering it came from. But the fact that this jumper used to be purple, it is now almost a violet lilac-y color. It's very, very light, meaning that it has been washed a lot. Very high potential that it's worn throughout the entire year. Now, how do we know it's a 2011 Ryan Crowley? A few things. Not really. It's only one thing really that gives it away between 2011 and 2012. So 11s and 12s are very, very similar in the fact that the material is exactly the same. It's almost like a wetsuit type material if you want to just give it a bit of a stretch. And you can sort of see it's very stretchy. So it's like a wetsuit type material. So it's kind of thickish. Very kind of rough, isn't it? Rough feeling. But on the back, so is where you can tell, it's the only reason you can tell it is 2011, and that's the integrated sponsor at the very bottom underneath the number there. Integrated was the sponsor for Freo from 2009, I want to say, up until 2011 on the jumpers. And after 2011, that jumper sponsor changed to programmed. So the only difference between the 2011s and 12s is the rear sponsor, which is integrated in 2011, changed to 2012 programmed. Obviously, prior to 2011 was the old anchor jumpers. So 2010, they still had
Could
the
do with a
anchor.
good iron.
It could do with a good iron, yeah. So it was in a bag with a lot of other jumpers just screwed up and chucked in there. So there is a GPS pocket on there as well. On the outside, as you can see there. If anyone wants to get up nice and close, so you can see all the details, would be nice. So you can see that corner there, the GPS pocket, where it was nice and easy to match details. Obviously, fully sublimated as well. So the number and all the logos are fully sublimated. If you want to pull up so you can see the sponsor at the bottom. Yep, and you can see that one there is also sublimated into the jumper. Is very creasy, as Em says.
Oh, it's not. My arms are killing me.
Turn around for us and we'll do a quick look at the front. Woodside is all sublimated as well. This is obviously the first chevron jumper that Freo came out with. So 2011, they moved from the anchor into the 2011 chevron with a really thick collar as well. 2013, they moved into the newer ISC material, which they call feather, much lighter, much more shiny, and it looked a lot nicer, I think. Much lighter as well for the players to wear. Looks much nicer. If you want to just open up the GPS pocket there so you can see the inside of the GPS pocket. There you go. It's a bit different in 2011 and 12 as well. A bit thicker and had that white trim around it, whereas 13 and onwards was just black. And not quite as thick or as big either. And then on the very bottom, here's the jock tag at the bottom. That ISC Stickman logo, as is known, was 11 and 12, as well as 13, actually. So in 13, they had that same Stickman logo. I want to put up nice and close, Em, so people could see it.
How close is close?
Yeah, that one. So that particular logo, or jock tag at the bottom, was succeeded by the 2014 logos where they had the club logo above the Stickman, but otherwise very, very similar. So that's why you can tell between 2013 and 2014. That goes for every club as well. 2014, there might have been one club, I think, that didn't do it in 2014, but otherwise just about every other club did. That's the way you can tell the difference between 2013 and 2014 jumpers. That was it. That was what was in the cave today. A 2011 Ryan Crowley, which I picked up the last couple of weeks. Thank you to Alex Scott for that number. Hopefully you enjoyed seeing that being pulled out. That's going to do it. Episode 2 of the Cave Sessions is officially in the books. Thank you for joining me, Em.
No worries.
Did you have fun filming not only the show, but the video which we put together?
I had fun filming it, but I'm not going to have fun.
Breaking
Not going to
something.
throwing the jersey on the floor. Not going to have fun seeing the comments about it because it's going to be such a missed bag. It's going to be like people being like, "Oh my god, that's hilarious," and people being like, "What the hell?"
Well, if they don't watch the original video, yeah, you're probably going to get comments like, "What the hell was that?" And
It's still funny though.
I mean, yeah, I think it
Oh
is.
my
I'm not sure
God.
because we've seen
Oh
the
my
original
God.
videos, so to us it's best
I
funny.
am gonna just crawl in a hole and never come out. This is the last you're ever gonna see of co-host Emma.
On that note, we'll see you next week. Please make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Tell all your friends about it. Tell all your friends about the new favorite video podcast that you've got on YouTube. Please like and comment. Please comment so we can see all your comments and tell us any segments or questions that you have for the next show. If you would like to see any segments in the show, please let us know. Any ideas you have would be great. And just, yeah, tell us what you want to see in future. As Em says, we are here to please. And that's it. We look forward to seeing you on episode 3. Thank you and goodbye.
Woo-hoo.